Okay, so, hey, y'all, I'm back for a little bit. I'm still up, so I just wanted to cover this because it's just way too much going on. Way too much. And these two right here, oh my goodness. Talking about he got the tea. He got the tea. He got the tea. I got a guy over here. Says Trump is scared to death. Judge cleared the path to prison. Can we believe that? That would be a wonderful day. What a day of rejoicing that would be. So without further ado, I want to hear this what this other guy over here was talking about, baby, because they say Trump ain't no way around it. He finna go to jail. Well, you know.
Work. It's why she moved.
There may be a delay with all the appeals and stuff, but it sounds like they are really thinking this through in order for him to serve this time. Big time. I'm trying to see
And they
what...
hear that Trump just disappeared people without hearing.
Disappeared people. He done
Just
sent... Oh my
disappeared.
God.
And now Judge Boasberg is saying, fix this by January 5th or face contempt. That's a
So
hard
it
deadline.
sounds like
That's
what
not a
is
suggestion.
happening
That's not
is
a
that
request for
these
compliance.
people had already had these messages recorded and waited until now. I guess because of the appeals. I'm not sure why they did it that way. But they're talking about it now based on what happened the other day in court and him being found in contempt. Trump corrupt. Oh. Let me see. Okay, here it comes.
Their families don't know where they are. Lawyers can't reach them.
Lawyers can't reach them. They don't know where these people are.
President Trump insists the U.S. can fix Venezuela after American soldiers captured Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro and brought him to the U.S.
Trapping
to face
and
criminal
capping.
charges.
Hey, trapping and capping. Nephew. Hey, naturally, Narlins. Excuse me. Thank you for the thumbs up. Yeah, I should be asleep. And can't get over all of this that's going on. Y'all give my trapping and capping, my Mo3 nephew. He is one of the originals. I'm glad you came through, trapping. I'm rocking with you all night while I'm at work. Okay, let's go. Did you hit the like button, Trap? Okay, so y'all listen. I've been listening to everything that's going on, and this is crazy. He is really in a lot of trouble. He is going to jail. And now that I done heard that he was planning on becoming a fugitive, moving money and all of this crazy stuff, which is, I've always been, well, not always, but for a while I've been saying Epstein's still alive. I just don't believe it, because his brother said he changed his will around the day before he, supposedly took his life. Who does that? If you are unhappy with living, why would you change your will around? And where did your money go? And how are you still making money? How are you still getting deposits? So, so now that I know that Trump was planning this, threatening folk, causing all these wars, knowing good and dang well, I guess he thought that he was going to continue to play the system. But Jack Smith pretty much got him. But let's just listen, because I didn't know that 250 people since last week have been picked up and sent over to El Salvador for torture. Man, let's listen. This is crazy shit I done heard.
Has the latest from the White House.
Venezuela's Supreme Court has appointed Vice President Delcy Rodriguez acting president of the country.
We're dealing with the people that just got sworn
What
in.
you mean blame BS? Who you saying BS to? What? Explain that.
And don't ask me who's in charge, because I'll give you an answer and it'll be very controversial.
What does that mean?
Because we're in charge.
President Trump said he has not personally spoken with Rodriguez yet, but told The Atlantic if she doesn't do what's right, she's going to pay a very big price.
I don't have to tell you. I just say that she will face a situation probably worse than Maduro, because Maduro gave up immediately.
Rodriguez said she's inviting the U.S.
Well, hell,
to
you
work with
didn't.
her, but President Trump has not ruled out U.S. forces on the ground.
What we should see in the coming days.
Okay, so just when you think Trump's legal situation can't possibly get any worse, a federal judge just dropped another bomb. Judge James Boasberg in D.C. just ruled that Trump's administration illegally disappeared over 250 Venezuelan migrants, just shipped them off to one of the most notorious prisons in the world, without any hearings and without any due process, without any legal procedure at all. And the judge is not playing around. He's given Trump's administration until January 5th to fix this.
Which
or face
he's in
criminal
contempt.
charges, like actual jail time for Trump officials. This is insane.
Are the outlines of a clear strategy, a strategy of coercive diplomacy. But I'll tell you, Gail, that's not easy to do. It may be something bigger.
Trump administration officials are briefing some members of Congress today about the Venezuela operation, even as some are questioning the president's legal authority to carry out the raid.
I believe it's an illegal action because we're not supposed to be at war without a vote of Congress. They need to tell us why it's a smart thing to do.
Russia and China, Venezuelan allies, accused the U.S. of violating international law. The UN Security Council convened the meeting for today. The meeting comes as Trump Sunday night threatened action against Colombia and reiterated his interest in the U.S. taking control of Greenland. Aaron Navarro, CBS News, the White House.
Well, apparently after that operation, Trump's administration started rounding up Venezuelan migrants in the United States, people who were here legally or seeking asylum. And instead of going through normal deportation procedures, the ones with hearings and lawyers and due process,
This is crazy.
Trump's team just shipped them to El Salvador, to a prison called SECOT. And if you don't know about SECOT,
Absolutely. Yeah, about a month ago, we saw those missiles, and it told us that it would take out the whole U.S. Yeah, I remember that, and it kind of scared me then. It's like, whoa. But at that time, I can't remember what happened to make them show us what they were working on. I think that's when, whenever it was that Trump was showing out for, who was he showing out for when he went over there and bombed Iran and was saying that it hit his targets and all of that type stuff and really didn't. Darian, did you hit the like button? Cause you coming in here is saying stuff is capped. I don't even know what you're talking about. Let me make sure I have it on here for these troll clowns. Yeah. Look, hold on, y'all. You know, don't come in here asking questions. Don't come in here trolling. Don't come in here with none of that foolishness. Do your own research. Don't ask me shit. Okay? Don't come in here with that cat bull crap, because that's for kids. And we grown over here. So let me get your ass right on up out of here real quick, fast, in a hurry. Bye. Oh, I must don't have the thing on. No wonder. No wonder. Hold on. No wonder. Oh, man. Yeah, I didn't come over here and handle my business. Trap, do not refresh. You stay right there. You just keep moving. Yeah, I didn't handle my business. Yeah, I don't do with people who like pedos and okay with kids being listed. Oh no, you got to get up out of here. We don't play that over here. That means your mama didn't raise you right, or she let your daddy play with your butt. Somebody was in your ass. If you okay with PDFers, so let me get your dangling loving. You need to go to counseling. Let your mama help you with that. Something's wrong with y'all if y'all all up in Trump's ass like that. Do you know he was sucking on Trump's dangling? He ate his pickle. He ate it up real good. Did you ever see those pictures? Before you go, did you ever see those pictures with him sucking on Bill's pickle? Who hit? Hold on, Trapping. Who hit you? Oh, Trapping, I think I hit you trying to get Darian. Say something, Trapping. I hit you trying to get him. Trap. Trapping. Please say something. Okay, good. I'm sorry. It keeps telling me to subscribe. I've been subscribed. Yeah, okay. I had to. I don't know why I was tripping. I was sleepy. Let me make sure. And then let me get them on up out of here. It's too late for that. Okay, now as I ain't do none of what I was supposed to do over here, did I? Hold on, y'all. Woo, baby. Let me get them on up out of here. Naturally knowledge, you must have left. You was going to leave me just hanging to fight by myself. I ain't finna fight with these clowns. No, sir. Now, as I was, let's go back. Yeah, China. And baby girl earlier was telling me about China. And I tried to tell her that we had saw that about a month or so ago. But it was when he bombed Iran.
Like actual jail time for Trump officials.
And he was talking about that peace stuff.
Of a clear strategy. A strategy
and he said he got a hydro missile that'll take out the whole U.S. The whole U.S.
of diplomacy.
I said, Lord.
But I'll tell you, Gail, that's not easy to do. It may be something bigger.
Trump administration officials are briefing some members of Congress today about the Venezuela operation, even as some are questioning the president's legal authority to carry out the raid.
I
He got
believe
stripped.
it's an illegal action because we're not supposed to be at
He got
war
stripped.
without a vote of Congress. They need to tell us why it's a smart thing to do.
Russia and China,
But he's not
Venezuelan
going to obey
allies,
the law.
accused the U.S. of violating
He has no
international law.
respect.
The UN Security Council convened the meeting for today. The meeting comes as Trump Sunday night threatened action against Colombia and reiterated his interest in the U.S. taking control of Greenland. Aaron Navarro, CBS News, the White House.
Well, apparently after that operation, Trump's administration started rounding up Venezuelan migrants in the United States, people who were here legally or seeking asylum. And instead of going through normal deportation procedures, you know, the ones with hearings and lawyers and due process, Trump's team just shipped them to El Salvador, to a prison called SECOT. And if you don't know about SECOT, it's basically a nightmare. It's a mega prison built for gang members. Horrific conditions.
Hey,
No
Janet,
contact with the
what
outside
happened?
world.
Okay.
The kind of place that human rights groups call inhumane. And Trump sent over 250 people there without any legal process whatsoever. Judge Boasberg is furious about this.
Janet.
His ruling uses language that federal judges almost never. Horrific conditions.
So he just
contact
swooped
with
him up.
The ones with hearings and lawyers and due process. Trump's team just shipped them to El Salvador, to a prison called SECOT. And if you don't know about SECOT, it's basically a nightmare. It's a mega prison built for gang members. Horrific conditions. No contact with the outside world. The kind of place that human rights groups call inhumane. And Trump sent over 250 people there without any legal process whatsoever. Judge
What is wrong
Boasberg
with
is
this
furious
man?
about this. His ruling uses language that federal judges almost never use. He says the administration spirited people off to a notorious foreign prison. Spirited. That's the word he used. Like they were kidnapped. Like this was some kind of secret operation to make people disappear. And that's basically what happened. These people vanished. Their families don't know where they are. Lawyers can't reach them. They had no hearings, no chance to contest their deportation, nothing.
Nothing.
They just disappeared. And now Judge Boasberg is saying, fix this by January 5th or face contempt. That's a hard deadline. That's not a suggestion. That's not a request for compliance. That's an order. Either bring these people back to the United States and give them proper hearings, or hold tribunals in El Salvador that meet constitutional standards. Either way, you have until January 5th. And if you don't comply, contempt of court, fines, show cause orders, and potentially criminal referrals for Trump officials.
So this man is grabbing people, shipping them, military, taking them to these foreign countries. To be tortured. Family don't know where they are. And hell, if they don't know, I mean, why? So he done made some type of deal with El Salvador. And I guess he getting, what is he getting in exchange? This is crazy.
Maybe even for Trump himself if he personally ordered this. And here's the thing that's making Trump absolutely panic now that his immunity is stripped. Thanks to that DC circuit ruling we talked about, contempt of court charges could actually stick. Before, Trump could argue that he was immune from court orders because he was president. But that immunity is gone now. Federal judges have ruled Trump can be held criminally liable. So if Judge Boasberg finds Trump in contempt, Trump could actually face prosecution, actual criminal charges for defying a federal court order. That's not hypothetical anymore. That's real. Trump's response has been predictable panic. He went on Truth Social, calling Judge Boasberg an activist judge, saying this is sabotage, saying the ruling is unconstitutional, saying he was just enforcing immigration law. But none of that matters, because you can't just disappear people to foreign prisons without due process. That's not immigration enforcement. That's a constitutional violation. That's potentially a human rights violation, and Trump's going to be held accountable for it. And the timing of this is absolutely brutal. This ruling comes out right as Mark Meadows is testifying against Trump.
Hey,
Right as the
Dorothy.
impeachment trial is starting in the Senate. Right as prosecutors are preparing criminal indictments. So now Trump's got another massive legal problem to deal with, another court order he has to comply with.
Oh, this is too
Another
funny.
potential criminal charge hanging over his head. The walls just keep closing in from every direction.
I'm sorry, y'all. I just saw this. I gotta show it to y'all before I get sleepy and forget. Since we scared of China. Putin. Oh, any for oh my God. Ooh. Look at his diaper. Look at them titties. Boy, you need a bra on. Look at that. Oh, okay. Let me get. Look at Putin. Oh, how funny. This shit is too funny. He finna be the laughing stock. I'ma wear him out every day. I can't wait till they put his ass in jail. Let's go.
This also connects back to the Venezuela operation, because why were these people being deported to El Salvador in the first place?
Exactly.
Venezuela and El Salvador aren't even the same country. The explanation is apparently that Trump made some kind of deal with El Salvador's government to take Venezuelan deportees. But nobody in Congress was consulted. Nobody in the State Department signed off on this properly. It was just Trump deciding to ship people to a foreign prison because he thought it would look tough. And now it's blown up in his face. Judge Boasberg's ruling also mentions that his court warned the Trump administration about this before, that there were previous orders to stop this practice, and Trump's team ignored them, kept doing it anyway. That's why the judge is being so aggressive now. That's why the deadline is so tight. That's why contempt charges are on the table, because Trump's administration already defied court orders, already ignored judicial warnings, and judges don't like being ignored. They especially don't like being ignored when constitutional rights are at stake. The January 5th deadline is also significant, because that's right before the full Senate impeachment trial ramps up. So, if Trump's administration doesn't comply, if they don't bring these people back or hold proper hearings, the contempt proceedings are going to happen right in the middle of the impeachment trial. That's terrible optics. That's another scandal for senators to consider. That's more evidence that Trump doesn't respect rule of law or constitutional limits, and that makes conviction in the Senate more likely. So, buckle up, because we need to break down what Judge Boasberg actually ordered, why this could lead to Trump's first criminal charges post-immunity, and what this means for his survival. This is another nail in the coffin. This is another crisis Trump can't escape, and it's happening right now. This is absolutely wild. Alright, so let's get into the details of Judge Boasberg's ruling.
So he no longer has complete immunity.
Why it's so devastating for Trump. Because every aspect of this makes Trump's legal situation worse. First, let's talk about what actually happened to these Venezuelan migrants. These weren't just random people. Many of them were asylum seekers who had legal claims to be in the United States. They had filed paperwork. They had court dates scheduled. They had lawyers. But after Trump's Venezuela operation captured Maduro, Trump apparently decided to make a statement. He wanted to show he was tough on Venezuelan immigrants. So his administration, DHS, ICE, whoever was involved, started rounding up Venezuelans. They grabbed people from their homes, from workplaces. Some were detained at check-ins with immigration officials, and instead of processing them through normal channels,
And Vance made a statement today that they will be starting the process of going door to door. Y'all double tap the face of your phone if that's the device you're listening in on. If not, if you're on your computer, hit the three dots at the very top right corner. I'm not going to play with y'all tonight. Let's go. It's 559 people listening in. You're ear hustling. Just double tap. It don't cost you a thing. Let's go.
We just shipped them out, put them on planes, sent them to El Salvador, to Seacot prison, without hearings, without lawyers, without any opportunity to contest what was happening. Judge Boasberg's ruling is
Hi,
scathing
Angela.
about this. He says, "You cannot spirit people off to notorious foreign prisons without due process. That's not how the American legal system works. Even people who are here illegally have constitutional rights. The Fifth Amendment guarantees due process. That means hearings. That means the opportunity to make your case. That means access to lawyers. You don't just get to disappear people because it's politically convenient." And Judge Boasberg is making it very clear that Trump's administration violated these
snowflake
people's
theory.
constitutional rights egregiously, deliberately, and now there are going to be consequences. The judge's order is very specific. Trump's administration has until January 5th to do one of two things. Option 1, bring all these people back to the United States and give them proper immigration hearings, with lawyers and translators and all the procedural protections they're entitled to. Option 2, hold constitutional hearings in El Salvador. Bring judges there, bring lawyers there, bring translators
We
there.
go get them.
Give these people their day in court, even if that court is in a foreign country. But either way, you have to provide due process, and you have to do it by January 5th. No extensions, no excuses.
He missed it.
January 5th, or you're in contempt. Now, let's talk about what contempt means, because this isn't just a slap on the wrist. Contempt of court is serious. There are civil contempt and criminal contempt. Civil contempt is usually about compliance. You get fined per day until you comply with the order. Criminal contempt is punishment for defying the court, and Judge Boasberg's ruling suggests he's prepared to pursue both. He can fine the administration, he can fine individual officials, he can order them to appear and show cause why they shouldn't be held in contempt, and if their explanations aren't good enough, he can refer them for criminal prosecution. And here's the key thing: Trump can't hide behind immunity anymore.
Hi,
The
Karen.
DC Circuit stripped that protection. Federal judges have ruled Trump can be held criminally liable. So if Judge Boasberg finds Trump personally ordered this deportation scheme, Trump can be charged with contempt. That's a crime. That's potentially jail time for defying a federal court order. And prosecutors would love to charge Trump with contempt because it's an easy case to prove. Did Trump comply with the order? No. Then he's guilty. Simple. Guilty. The connection to the Venezuela operation is also important here, because this deportation scheme apparently started right after Trump launched his military strike on Venezuela. It seems like Trump thought capturing Maduro gave him carte blanche to do whatever he wanted with Venezuelan immigrants in the US. Like it was all part of one big Venezuela policy. But that's not how law works. You can't use a foreign military operation as justification for violating constitutional rights domestically. Those are separate issues with separate legal frameworks, and Trump's going to learn that the hard way. There are also international law implications. Sending people to CECOT prison in El Salvador might violate treaties the United States has signed. The Convention Against Torture prohibits sending people to places where they'll face torture or inhumane treatment, and CECOT is notorious. Human rights groups have documented terrible conditions there, so by sending Venezuelan migrants to CECOT, Trump's administration might have violated international law. That creates potential liability at the International Criminal Court. That creates diplomatic problems with allies. That makes America look like a rogue state that doesn't follow rules. Judge Boasberg's ruling also notes that this isn't the first time Trump's administration has done this, that there were previous warnings, previous orders to stop similar practices, and the administration ignored them. That pattern of defiance is why Judge Boasberg is being so aggressive now. Because when courts give warnings and those warnings are ignored, judges have to escalate. They have to use their contempt powers. They have to show that court orders actually mean something. Otherwise, the judicial system breaks down. And Judge Boasberg is not going to let that happen. The logistics of complying with this order are also a nightmare for Trump. Because how do you bring 250 people back from El Salvador by January 5th? That's like 2 weeks away. You need to coordinate with El Salvador's government. You need to arrange flights. You need to process these people back into the United States. You need to schedule hearings. You need to find lawyers for all of them. You need translators. You need court time. That's a massive logistical undertaking. And Trump's administration is already in chaos. 3 cabinet members resigned. The White House is paralyzed by infighting. Mark Meadows just flipped, and now they're supposed to pull off this complex international operation in 2 weeks. It's probably impossible, which means Trump's probably going to defy the court order, which means contempt charges are coming. Trump's legal team is going to try to appeal this ruling. They're going to ask for a stay. They're going to argue the deadline is too tight. They're going to say Judge Boasberg is overstepping, but appeals take time, and the deadline is January 5th. So even if Trump files an appeal, he still has to comply while the appeal is pending, unless he can get a stay from a higher court. And that's not guaranteed. Appellate courts don't like staying orders that protect constitutional rights. So Trump might be stuck. He might have to comply or face contempt. The political implications are also massive, because this ruling makes Trump look cruel and lawless.
Played
He
himself
disappeared over
too close
250 people to a notorious prison without due
with his
process.
intentional
That's banana
disregard.
republic behavior. That's dictator stuff. And moderate voters hate it. Even some Trump supporters are uncomfortable with this, because a lot of them believe in rule of law. They believe in constitutional rights, and disappearing people to foreign prisons violates those principles. So this ruling hurts Trump politically.
Oh yeah,
It's going to come
that's
up
why
in
they
the
saying he
impeachment
going to
trial.
jail.
It's going to be used in campaign ads. It's going to drive down Trump's support even further. The connection to all the other scandals is also important, because this isn't happening in isolation. Trump's cabinet flipped and testified against him. Mark Meadows provided smoking gun evidence. The DC Circuit stripped Trump's immunity. Federal courts caught Trump lying in 35 plus cases.
Do
His
I
own
need to
party
back that
turned
thing
against
up?
him, and now a federal judge is
Dorothy,
threatening
let
him
me
with
back that
contempt
thing
and
up.
potential criminal charges. Every scandal feeds into every
Oh
other
yeah,
scandal.
it's going
Every
down.
crisis makes the others worse. And Trump
What is it at? Heck, I don't see the red
can't
line.
manage all of this at once. He doesn't
He
have the
still
staff.
think he's
He
untouchable.
doesn't have the support. He doesn't have the political capital.
He
So
gonna
he's just
play
flailing,
dumb.
making things worse, creating more problems instead of
He gonna
solving
start looking
existing
out
ones.
windows like
Judge
he looking at
Boasberg's
something.
personal record is also worth noting.
I think he
He's
gonna
not a
disappear.
partisan hack. He's a well-respected federal judge with a reputation for being fair but tough. He doesn't make threats he won't follow through on. He doesn't issue orders he doesn't mean. So when he says comply by January 5th or face contempt, he means it. He's not bluffing. He's prepared to hold Trump's administration accountable. And that should terrify Trump, because judges like Boasberg don't back down. They don't cave to political pressure. They follow the law wherever it leads. And right now, it's leading straight to criminal charges against Trump. Okay, so let's break down what Judge Boasberg's ruling actually means for Trump's survival, because this could be the first domino that leads to his arrest. Point 1. This creates an immediate path to criminal charges. Trump's immunity is gone. Judge Boasberg has set a hard deadline. If Trump doesn't comply by January 5th, contempt proceedings begin immediately. And contempt of court is a crime. So this could literally be the first criminal charge filed against Trump post-immunity. Not the January 6th case. Not the financial fraud, not the election interference. Contempt for defying a court order about Venezuelan deportees. That would be wild, but it's possible, and it might happen within weeks. Point 2. This proves Trump doesn't respect judicial authority. That's going to matter enormously in the Senate impeachment trial. Senators who are on the fence about conviction are going to hear about Trump defying federal court orders, about Trump disappearing people without due process, about Trump potentially facing contempt charges, and they're going to think, do we really want a president who doesn't respect courts, who thinks he's above the law? Some Republican senators who were leaning toward acquittal are going to flip to conviction because of this. Because disrespecting judicial authority is a bridge too far, even for Republicans who've
Now,
defended
Angela,
Trump on
you
everything
do know
else.
that they started
Point
seizing
3.
his
This
properties.
is terrible optics internationally. America's allies are already concerned
Right.
about Trump's behavior. The
It
Venezuelan
has passed, Arthur. That's why his property started getting seized, because he was in contempt. Remember? You remember the Trump Tower where the some 410 something Avenue something in the Trump Tower Hey, Don M. And remember I said that get the one with all that gold? Oh yeah, they started season on in New York. I think they mentioned 2 or 3 properties. And they really want to sell sell property on the inside of that Trump Tower with all that gold that he done swindled out of those foreign countries. Yes. Yes. And Bannon told, I guess he gave one of the goon squads, the Proud Boys, code to go over to the properties and don't let nobody in, but that didn't work. Hey, Dominique. Let's go.
Invasion without consultation, the chaos in his administration, the cabinet members testifying against him, and now this, illegally deporting people to notorious foreign prisons. That makes America look like a rogue state. That
It
makes
is
us
horrible.
look like we
That
don't
is
follow
just
our own
horrible.
laws or respect human rights. And that damages American credibility globally, makes it harder to build coalitions, makes it harder to criticize other countries for human rights violations when we're committing our own. This undermines American soft power in ways that will take years to repair. Point 4. This fractures Trump's remaining support even more because some of
In
Trump's base
Manhattan,
actually
Mar-a-Lago.
believes in constitutional rights. They might not
Mar-a-Lago
like
in
immigrants.
Florida.
They might support tough deportation policies.
They got two
but they also
in New
believe in due
York.
process. They believe in courts and trials and the rule of law. So when they hear that Trump just disappeared
I
people
thought it was
without
like
hearings,
a
some
14
of them are going
something.
to be uncomfortable. Some of them are going to question whether this is who they want to support. It's not going to be a massive defection, but at the margins, Trump loses more support, and he can't afford to lose any more support. He's already teetering on the edge of total collapse.
Yep.
Point 5. This creates more potential witnesses against Trump.
Maybe he
the
know
immigration
he
officials who
about to
carried out these
expire.
deportations. Some of them are probably uncomfortable with what they did. Some of them probably objected. Some of them probably documented their concerns. And now that Judge Boasberg has ruled this was illegal, those officials have cover to come forward to cooperate with investigations, to testify against Trump, to say, we were ordered to do this, and we knew it was wrong. That's more evidence, more witnesses, more documentation of Trump personally ordering illegal acts. Now, let's talk about what happens over the next few weeks. And because the January 5th deadline is tight, and the consequences are severe, Trump's administration has basically 3 options. Option 1, they comply with the order, bring the people back, or hold proper hearings. That would be the smart move. That would avoid contempt charges, but it would also be admitting they did something wrong, and Trump never admits wrongdoing, so compliance seems unlikely.
Never.
Option 2, they partially comply. Maybe they bring some people back, but not all. Maybe they hold some hearings, but not proper ones. Judge Boasberg might accept partial compliance as good faith effort, or he might not. It's risky. Option 3, they defy the order completely. Trump refuses to comply, claims the judge has no authority, dares the judge to hold him in contempt. That's the most Trump thing to do.
Well,
It's
we
also the most
passed that.
dangerous, because Judge Boasberg will absolutely follow through on contempt charges if Trump defies him. If Trump chooses defiance, here's what happens. On January 6th, the day after the deadline, Judge Boasberg issues an order to show cause. That means Trump's officials have to appear in court and explain why they shouldn't be held in contempt. They'll make excuses. They'll blame logistics. They'll argue the deadline was
So all his
unreasonable.
money.
Judge Boasberg will reject those excuses. Then he'll
I don't
impose
know
fines,
if all his money
maybe
is.
millions of dollars per day.
I just
until
heard him say
compliance.
properties.
And he'll refer individual officials for criminal contempt prosecution. Those officials will panic. They'll start cooperating. They'll start testifying against Trump. They'll say, Trump ordered us to defy the court. And that testimony becomes more evidence for criminal prosecution of Trump himself. The impeachment trial timing is also crucial. The Senate trial is going to be in full swing by mid-January, and if Trump's being held in contempt of court during that trial, if there are criminal contempt proceedings happening simultaneously with impeachment, that's devastating. Senators are going to see Trump defying courts in real time, while they're deciding whether to remove him from office. Some Republicans who are on the fence are going to decide, we can't keep defending this. We can't protect a president who's actively defying federal judges. So they're going to vote for conviction, and Trump's going to lose in the Senate. He's going to be removed from office. Not
Absolutely.
because of January 6th, or the fraud, or the cabinet testimony alone, But because of the totality
witness
of everything,
tampering,
including this Venezuelan deportation scandal, the other legal
espionage.
cases are also going to be affected by this, because if Trump defies Judge Boasberg's order, that establishes a pattern of Trump not complying with court orders. And prosecutors in the other cases, the January 6th case, the financial fraud cases, the election interference cases, they can point to that pattern. They can say, Your Honour, this defendant has shown repeatedly that he doesn't respect judicial authority. He needs to be detained pending trial because he's a flight risk, and he's shown he won't comply with court orders. That makes pre-trial detention more likely. That makes restrictive bail conditions more likely. That puts Trump in a worse position in every single case. Trump's legal team is completely overwhelmed at this point. They're dealing with impeachment, with Mark Meadows' testimony, with cabinet members flipping, with immunity being stripped, with criminal indictments being prepared, and now this, a contempt proceeding with a 2 p.m. deadline. There aren't enough hours in the day. There aren't enough lawyers. Trump's legal strategy is just chaos and denial, and that doesn't work when you're facing this many crises at once. So Trump's legal defense is going to fall apart. His lawyers are going to start making mistakes. They're going to miss deadlines. They're going to file sloppy briefs, and judges are going to punish them for it. The financial implications are also significant. If Judge Boasberg imposes contempt fines, they could be massive, millions per day.
And he already
And
broke.
who pays those fines? The Treasury Department? Or Trump personally? That's going to be litigated. But either way, it's another financial hit. Trump's already facing asset seizures from the IRS, judgments from the New York fraud case, legal bills that are astronomical, and now potentially contempt fines on top of everything else. Trump's personal wealth is going to be completely wiped out by all this. The Trump Organization might not survive. Trump Tower might get seized. Everything Trump built over decades might be gone within months. The historical parallels are also striking. We've had presidents defy courts before. Andrew Jackson famously said about the Supreme Court that John Marshall has made his decision, now let him enforce it. But that was the 1830s.
I've been
Things
saying
were
that a long
different.
time ago, brother.
In the modern era, presidents don't defy federal courts, they comply. They respect judicial authority, because not respecting courts is how democracies die. That's how you get authoritarianism. So Trump defying Judge Boasberg would be historically significant. It would be a break with democratic norms, and historians are going to look back on this as a moment when the American system was tested, when we had to decide whether rule of law actually means something. And Judge Boasberg is determined to prove that it does. The international human rights community is watching this very closely too. Groups like Amnesty International and Human Rights Watch are monitoring the case. They're documenting what happened to these Venezuelan migrants. They're preparing reports. They're filing amicus briefs. They're putting pressure on the US government to comply with international standards.
Just
and if
to
Trump
move these
continues
people.
to defy the court, these groups are going to escalate. They're going to file complaints with the Inter-American Commission on Human Rights. They're going to push for international criminal court investigation.
No, he don't have no money.
They're going to make this an international scandal, and that damages America's reputation even more. The bottom line is Judge Boasberg's ruling is another crisis Trump can't escape. He can't comply because that would be admitting wrongdoing.
He be
He
lying,
can't defy
Janet.
because that leads to contempt charges. He can't delay because the deadline is immovable. So he's trapped, and this is going to blow up in his face. Either he complies and looks weak and admits to
cornered.
violating constitutional rights, or he defies.
Janet, how
faces
many
crim-
people have we heard say he's cornered? He has no place to go. He's trapped. Yeah, not trapping and capping. He trapped for real. Yeah, he ain't got no place to go. And the courts already know he don't have no money. And he can't get bonds. Because he done lied so much and for so long, the same lie over and over and over. He only rich when he needs something. He broke when it's time for him to pay something. But the reality of it is, he broke. He broke. You probably got more money in your 401k than he got.
criminal charges for contempt. There's no good option, just different versions of losing. And this is happening right as everything else is
But he don't
collapsing.
think he middle
Right as his
class.
cabinet's testifying against him. Right as Mark Meadows is providing smoking gun evidence. Right as impeachment's moving forward. right as his immunity's been stripped. Trump's facing legal crisis from every direction, and he can't manage it all. So he's going to fail.
So that's why he's stealing from the
He's going to make
U.S.
things worse, and he's probably
He got
going
them
to
giving
end up
him
in
money out
prison,
the Treasury.
because that's where this is all heading. Every scandal, every court ruling, every betrayal, it's all leading to the same place. Trump's arrest, conviction, and imprisonment. And Judge Boasberg's ruling might be the first step on that path. This is absolutely wild.
And he
it's
does
only
not
going to
have
get crazier
immunity.
from hell.
Hold on. So my boy over here, he don't pop back in. He don't pop. You know, God, it throw me off every time. Because he is good to me. He brings the juice. Let's go. Let's go. There ain't too many men I could say that throw me off. Yeah. But let's see what he's saying this time. Let's go. He say he is. Oh, no, we talking about seizures. Let's go. He was just talking about the properties being seized. Let's go.
There's a certain poetic justice in watching someone who built their entire identity on wealth and luxury finally lose it all because they refuse to play by the rules. That's exactly what's happening to Donald Trump right now.
Let's go.
And I've got to tell you, it's been a long time coming.
It's been a long time.
A New York judge has just rejected Trump's latest desperate claim to protect his assets, and as a result, the seizure process has officially begun.
This is Bubba. Absolutely. The live before this, we pulled out that picture of Trump to the dump. Big hip did Trump on his knees for that pickle. He was on his knees making some of them females look bad the way he was addressing Bubba when he walked through that door. Set that ass down. Shit. Trump said, I got you, boo. Give me that pickle. God damn it. And went to work. Set him down and went to work. Yes, this is Bubba. And I know Bubba glad. That's why Bubba talking. Bubba ain't been talking, but he talking now. And when I listen to him, I promise it sound like he working with them, the special counsel, to bring Trump's ass down. Because one thing is for sure. Bubba is in the Epstein files. So it appears to me, I'm going to say it again, it appears to me he is doing what Trump did to Epstein, and he working with them to confirm vital information. Because we know some things. Bubba know. He know him well. Yeah, I know her. Yeah, I know her well. They've been intimate. Let's go.
Talking about golf courses. We're talking about properties that have been symbols of Trump's brand for decades.
Eating that pickle.
To satisfy the massive civil fraud judgment against him, and there's nothing Trump can do to stop it anymore. The emperor has no clothes, and now has losing his castle too. Let me start by explaining how we got to this point.
He says
now
castle.
Has losing his castle too.
Yep.
Let me start by explaining how we got to this point, because the road to Trump's asset seizure has been paved with his own lies and fraudulent behavior. Judge Arthur Engoron found Trump liable for massive fraud in his business dealings, inflating property values to get loans and deflating them to avoid taxes. The judgment was over $450 million when interest is included. That's not a small fine. That's a sum that would bankrupt most people. And Trump, despite all his claims of being a billionaire, apparently doesn't have that kind of liquid cash. So the New York Attorney General's office, led by Letitia James, began the process of collecting on that judgment by seizing Trump's assets. Trump's lawyers have been fighting this tooth and nail for months. They've filed motion after motion trying to prevent the seizure. They've claimed the judgment was excessive, that the properties are worth more than the judgment, that seizing them would cause irreparable harm, that Trump
Everybody
deserves
want
more
Bill
time to
now.
arrange financing. Every argument you can imagine they've made. And Judge Engoron has rejected them all. But the most recent rejection is particularly significant because it was Trump's last real hope of protecting his prized properties. Trump's latest claim was that his properties are essential to his campaign operations and that seizing them would interfere with his First Amendment right to run for office.
So I wonder if they seizing his properties, what they gonna do with Ivana? Ain't she on one of the properties? Ain't she buried on the golf course? Are they gonna dig her up too? Oh man. Oh man. What they gonna do with the first wife? Oh, this finna get ugly. Let's go.
It's a creative argument, it'll give them that. But it's also complete nonsense. And Judge Engoron saw right through it. In a brief but devastating ruling issued yesterday, the judge wrote that Trump's properties are not essential to his campaign, that plenty of politicians run successful campaigns without owning luxury real estate, and that allowing defendants to shield assets from collection by claiming they need them for political purposes would create a massive loophole that would undermine the entire judgment enforcement system. The judge's ruling means that the New York Attorney General can now proceed with seizing Trump's assets, and they're not wasting any time. Within hours of the ruling, AG Letitia James announced that the seizure process has officially begun. Court appointed. Receivers are being sent to Trump properties to take control of them. Legal notices are being filed. The machinery of asset seizure is in motion, and it's going to be very difficult for Trump to stop it at this point. The first property being seized is Trump Tower itself, the gleaming golden building on Fifth Avenue
Told y'all.
that has been the headquarters of Trump's business empire for decades. This isn't just any property. This is the building where Trump announced his presidential campaign. This is where he conducted business for years. This is a building that has his name in giant letters on the outside. And now it's being taken away from him to pay for his fraud. The symbolism could not be more perfect. I've been thinking about what this means for Trump psychologically,
Buried
and
under
I
the
think
golf
it's
course.
devastating for him in ways that criminal prosecution might not be. Trump's entire self-worth is tied up in his image as a wealthy real estate mogul. The buildings with his name on them are extensions of his ego. They are physical manifestations of what he believes makes him important and successful. Losing them isn't just a financial blow.
That's a blow.
It's an existential one. It's the destruction of the myth has built his life around. The process of seizing Trump Tower is going to be complex and is going to play out over the coming weeks. The receiver who's been appointed will take control of the building's operations. They'll manage the property, collect rent from tenants, and eventually oversee the sale of the property. To generate
They gonna do
funds
what?
to
Hold
pay
on.
Trump's
They gonna
judgment
what?
is going to be complex and is going to play out over the coming weeks. The receiver who's been appointed will take control of the building's operations. They'll manage the property, collect rent from tenants, and eventually oversee the sale of the property to generate funds to pay Trump's judgment. Trump won't have any say in how the property is managed or who it's sold to. He's going to watch helplessly as his signature building is taken from him and sold, probably at a price lower than he claims it's worth. The Trump Tower is just the beginning. The judgment against Trump is so large that one property won't be enough to satisfy it. AG Letitia James has identified multiple Trump properties that will be subject to seizure. His golf course in Westchester, New York is next on the list. His estate in Bedford also faces seizure. Properties that Trump has owned for years that have been part of his business empire are going to be taken one by one until the judgment is satisfied. What makes this particularly satisfying is that Trump brought this entirely on himself. The fraud he committed wasn't a one-time mistake or an error in judgment. It was systematic and deliberate. He inflated property values by hundreds of millions of dollars to get favorable loan terms. He had his employees create fraudulent financial statements year after year, Judge Engoron's ruling detailed the extent of Trump's fraud, and it was shocking even to those of us who followed Trump's career and know how dishonest he is.
Do you don't? Okay, so in inspiring gaming, you don't think we know that? All of them are. In the minute, ours are gonna be too. AI gonna have your job. So what's your point? The message is still the same. The message is true. If you do your research, the message is true. Inspiring gaming. So again, what is your point? Are you listening to the message or are you looking at the picture? What you doing? What you here for? I just need to know. Okay, so are you a Trump supporter? You like eating ass, don't you? You like playing with kids? Yes, that's why you don't want to hear the message. Is that what that? Are you a bot? Yeah. We know what we're listening to and we like it. Okay? Don't come over here telling us what to do. You go over there and play with yourself. Okay? Okay? We listen to the message. Dumbass. I could turn it to a wall and you won't see nothing. It's still gonna be the message. It's too late for that. Wake your ass up. Listen to the message.
Trump's response to the asset seizure has been predictable. His raging on Truth Social about how this is the greatest injustice in American history, about how A.G. James is a racist who's targeting him because he's white and Republican, about how Judge Goron is corrupt and biased. But none of his ranting changes the fundamental facts. He committed fraud. He was found liable in a court of law after a trial where he had every opportunity to defend himself, and now he has to pay the judgment. That's how the legal system works for everyone, and Trump is finally learning that it applies to him too. I want to talk about Letitia James for a moment, because she deserves enormous credit for pursuing this case and seeing it through to asset seizure. She ran for Attorney General promising to hold Trump accountable, and she's done exactly that.
Absolutely.
Trump and his supporters attacked her viciously throughout the process, claiming she was politically motivated, claiming the case was a witch hunt. But she persisted. She built a meticulous case based on evidence of Trump's fraud. She won at trial. And now she's collecting on the judgment.
AI is definitely taking over.
That's a prosecutor doing her job. The seizure of Trump's assets is also going to have political implications. Trump has been using his image as a successful businessman as a central part of his political brand. Has told his supporters that he is a billionaire, that he knows how to make deals, that his business acumen makes him qualified to run the country. But now everyone is going to watch as his properties are seized because he couldn't pay a fraud judgment. That undermines his entire brand. It exposes the reality that Trump's business success was built. Told his supporters that he is a billionaire, that he knows how to make deals, that his business acumen makes him qualified to run the country. But now everyone is going to watch as his properties are seized because he couldn't pay a fraud judgment. That undermines his entire brand. It exposes the reality that Trump's business success was built on fraud and that his wealth is far less than HES claimed.
And getting people to believe that he knew what he was doing is fraud. People really voted for him because they thought that he was an exceptional businessman, not knowing that all he was good at is writing off taxes. I mean, writing. They mad. Now listen. Now, Jenna, y'all know that these bots or whatever have been quiet. Now, all of a sudden, they waiting just to say bullshit. They mad about these rulings. They are mad. Yes, sir. Your time is up. It's near. You finna be out of here. You might I don't know what to tell you, but leave me alone. I'm up late to laugh in your face. Yes, I want to hear all of it because it's coming. It's coming. Now, the problem with that is that we 10 steps ahead. And when it really come out, people going to be acting like it's brand new. And we would have already known about it. It's coming. It's coming. Okay. And he knew it was coming. And he staged that for them ICE agents to go out there and get some bodies, act a fool, create a diversion. Because this shit was coming out. He knew that. He was mad at the judge.
The legal mechanics of asset seizure are worth understanding. When a judgment debtor refuses or is unable to pay a judgment, the judgment creditor can ask the court to authorize seizure of the debtor's assets. The court appoints a receiver who takes control of the assets. The receiver then manages the assets and eventually sells them, with the proceeds going to satisfy the judgment. This is a standard process that happens in civil cases all the time. The only thing unusual here is that the judgment debtor is a former president of the United States. Trump tried to avoid asset seizure by posting a bond while he appealed the judgment. But he couldn't find any bonding company willing to accept his properties as collateral at his inflated valuations. The bonding companies did their own appraisals and determined that Trump's properties weren't worth what he claimed. So Trump couldn't get the bond, which meant he couldn't delay the asset seizure. Once again, Trump's habit of lying about asset values came back to bite him. Judge Engoron's rejection of Trump's claim that the properties are essential to his campaign is particularly important from a legal precedent standpoint.
But
If
see,
Trump had succeeded with that
let me
argument,
tell you, my mama was talking like that. No, mama, he's a good hustler. He know how to hustle the system. And he got that white collar, blue collar, whichever one, where they could get away with the shit. So he know how to get away with it. And he did for a while. And that's why all the people, not all of them, let me stop and not say all of them, a lot of people, his first go around fell for the banana in the tailpipe with them PPP loans and all of that type of stuff. And a lot of the crooked people, I'm just going to say a lot of them, who already, play with their taxes, whatever we know how to do to get over. They jump right on it because he has that get over spirit, and it registered to people who got that get over spirit. And we're going to just keep it real. Right? So they said, oh shit, we got a president now. He know he this, he that, he know he a con too. He know how to do. Yeah. But now, so people done went out there and created businesses, inflated the people that they had working, all of that shit that he done got hit with. Now it's coming back on him. So just imagine the people with these fake ass PPP loans. Yeah, I mean, I know folk, I know hell, I got family members who ain't gonna want to hear that. But it's the truth. They following the con, hustling, getting over on the government. And then he done led people to follow him in the same shit that he done had got people following him illegally, inflating, defrauding the government is what's finna send his ass to prison. Cause he can't get no money off of them properties that he done lied on. I tried to tell these people. I tried to tell them, how do you have a business and you getting government assistance? You can't be getting food stamps in Section 8, but when he makes this available, Now you have a business. So which one is it? Do you have a business with employees that you can't pay? Or are you broke and you need assistance to feed your kids and a place to stay? At some point, that's not going to add up. And just like they done caught him, they going to eventually catch y'all. And then what you going to do? Because all that PPP money gone. This is what they finna get him on, in addition to a whole bunch of other stuff. But Letitia James, right now, it's about inflating that paperwork. And that's what a lot of people did with that PPP loan. I wasn't going for it. I saw that coming. Let's go. So I'm going to say this. I'm going to suggest, put some money to the side. Put some money to the side. Put some money to the side. Lord, I don't know if I need to say this. I'm saying put some money to the side for an attorney. And let me say this. If they contact you and tell you to put the money back, all I'm going to say is the minute you put it back is the minute that you have admitted that you stole some money. Did y'all catch that? When them folks start calling you and saying, you stole this, that, and the other, all you need to do is repay it back and open up an account and, deposit, some whatever you can deposit. And you gonna say, okay. Because I didn't know. I'm sorry. I didn't know I thought, I thought it was money so that I could start a business. The minute that you open up an account and put a dime in there, you have just admitted that you defrauded the government. And I'm going to leave that alone. Don't say I ain't never gave you nothing for free. Because they going to bait you in to pay back something. Open up that account. And as soon as you put some money in that account going to be closed. And they coming to get you with some bracelets.
Any wealthy person facing a civil judgment could simply
don't ask me how I know
for office and claim their assets were needed for their campaign. The judge recognized that this would make it nearly impossible to collect judgments against wealthy defendants who were willing to run for office, even symbolically, to protect their assets.
No one complains when
the
the
timing of the
Democratic
asset
Party has
seizure
stolen.
is also interesting. We're in 2026, and
why you mad, Marvels? Why? It don't matter to me if they Democrat or Republican. I don't give a shit about none of that. Why you care? Why you bringing that up? What's your point? You like him? You like men who play with kids? Huh? You like kids? Men who, great women? Is that what you're about? Okay. I don't feel like going there with you. So let me go and put you out now. You waited all that time just to get put out. Lord, y'all mad. Y'all mad. Because his ass is in trouble. And he broke. I mean, if you don't want him to go to prison, loan him the money. Give him the money he needs to get the surety bond. Yeah, you do. You give him the money. You so mad? his ass is going to jail, to prison. And he can play with all the ass he want up in there. He can have a good ass time. Huh? Yeah, it's time for him to go. And it's time for the females to get, and boys, it was men too. You know, his ass didn't discriminate. Yeah. He liked pickles. Yeah, yeah. And cherries. Yeah, that's why his ass is fat. Let's go.
Republican politics and position himself for influence over the party's direction. But it's hard to maintain an image as a powerful political force when your signature properties are being seized to pay fraud
Let me back it
judgments.
up a little, because y'all mad about that property being
This would make
seized.
it nearly impossible to collect judgments against wealthy defendants who are willing to run for office, even symbolically, to
Yeah.
protect their assets.
Yeah, that's why he
The
ran
timing
from
of the
office.
asset seizure is also interesting. We're in 2026, and Trump has been trying to maintain relevance in Republican politics against wealthy defendants who are willing to run for office, even symbolically, to protect their assets.
And
A
had
wealthy
no
person
plan on
facing a
leaving.
civil judgment could simply declare themselves a candidate for office and claim their assets were needed for their campaign. The judge recognized that this would make it nearly impossible to collect judgments against wealthy defendants who were willing to run for office, even symbolically, to protect their assets. The timing of the asset seizure is also interesting. We're in 2026, and Trump has been trying to maintain relevance in Republican politics and position himself for influence over the party's direction. But it's hard to maintain an image as a powerful political force when your signature properties are being seized to pay fraud judgments. Republican donors and voters are going to watch Trump lose his assets and wonder whether they want to continue supporting someone who's not only a convicted criminal, but also broke. I've been hearing from sources that Trump is absolutely panicking behind the scenes.
Yes.
He's been calling Republican mega donors begging for loans to pay the judgment and stop the seizures. But these donors are smart business people. They're not going to lend Trump hundreds of millions of dollars.
He don't
And he's
pay.
already proven he can't be trusted with money when his
Absolutely.
properties
He ain't never
apparently aren't
paid.
worth what he claims.
Pay
So
for
Trump's
nothing.
finding that his political connections can't save him from the consequences of his fraud. The seizure of Trump Tower in particular
And
is
he
going to
is
be a
not gonna pay. He
spectacle.
don't
The
never pay
building
no
is in a
bills.
prime location in Manhattan. It has commercial tenants, it has residential units, and it has the Trump Organization's offices. The receiver is going to have to manage all of that. Eventually, the building will be sold, probably to a real estate investor or developer who sees value in the location. And here's the delicious irony.
What you mean,
The new
gender
owner will almost
discrimination?
certainly
What are you talking
remove
about?
Trump's name from the building. The golden Trump letters that have been on that building
Emmanuel,
for
what are you
decades will
talking
come down,
about?
and Trump's name will be erased from his most iconic property. Trump's golf course in Westchester is also being targeted for seizure, and that's particularly fitting given how much time Trump has spent at his golf courses over the years. He has bragged about how beautiful his courses are, how well maintained they are, how much they're worth.
And his wife is on there
Well, now
too.
one of them is going to be sold to pay his fraud judgment.
You
Maybe the
said-
new owner will actually run it as a location. And here's the delicious irony. The new owner will almost certainly remove Trump's name from the building.
Yep.
The golden Trump letters that have been on that building for decades will come down, and Trump's name will be erased from his most iconic property. Trump's golf course in Westchester is also being targeted for seizure, and that's particularly fitting given how much time Trump has spent at his golf courses over the years. He has bragged about how beautiful his courses are, how well maintained they are, how much they're worth. Well, now one of them is going to be sold to pay his fraud judgment. Maybe the new owner will actually run it as a legitimate business instead of as a vehicle for fraud and tax avoidance. The legal process is also revealing just how much Trump lied about his wealth. When the receiver conducted appraisals of Trump's properties to determine their actual value, they found that Trump had inflated values by hundreds of millions of dollars. Properties he claimed were worth $500 million were actually worth $150 million. Properties he valued at $200 million were worth $70 million. The pattern of fraud was consistent across his entire portfolio. Trump wasn't just exaggerating a little bit. He was lying systematically and massively about what his properties were worth.
Wow.
I want to address something that Trump's defenders are claiming, that the asset seizures are politically motivated and designed to destroy Trump financially so he can't run for office. That's absurd. The asset seizures are happening because Trump committed fraud, was found liable by a judge after a trial, and owes a massive judgment that he refuses or is unable to pay. If Trump had simply operated his businesses honestly, or if he had paid the judgment when it was entered, none of this would be happening. The seizures are a direct consequence of Trump's own actions. The New York Attorney General's office has been very strategic about which properties to target for seizure. They are focusing on properties that are wholly or primarily owned by Trump, where seizure won't harm innocent third parties. They are also prioritizing properties that are likely to sell quickly and for high values. Trump Tower fits both criteria. It's a valuable property in a prime location, and while there are tenants who will be affected by the change in ownership, they have lease protections that will remain in force. Trump tried one more tactic to delay the seizures. He claimed that some of his properties are held in trust for his children and therefore should be subject to seizure. Judge Engoron rejected this claim too, noting that Trump maintained control over these properties and continued to benefit from them even after supposedly putting them in trust. The judge saw through what was obviously an attempt to shield assets by nominally transferring them while maintaining de facto control. The impact on Trump's remaining business operations is going to be severe. The Trump Organization is already a shadow of what it once was. Licensing deals have been canceled. Business partners have walked away. Banks have refused to lend to Trump. And now his signature properties are being seized. What's left of the Trump Organization after this is going to be a shell, managing a handful of properties that weren't valuable enough to seize or that Trump doesn't actually own. I've also been thinking about Trump's children and how this affects them. Donald Trump Jr., Eric Trump, and Ivanka Trump have all been involved in the Trump Organization to varying degrees. They've built their identities around being part of this real estate empire. And now they're watching that empire being dismantled piece by piece to pay for their father's fraud. Some of them were implicated in the fraud themselves. They signed false financial statements. They benefited from loans obtained through fraud. And now they're facing the consequences along with their father. The cultural impact of seeing Trump's property seized is also significant. For decades, Trump has been held up as an example of business success. Buildings with his name on them dotted the skyline of major cities. He had a television show where he played a successful businessman. He wrote books about his supposed business acumen. All of that was built on a foundation of lies and fraud, and now that foundation is crumbling. Future generations are going to learn about Trump not as a business success story, but as a cautionary tale about fraud and its consequences. Judge Engoron has been remarkably patient throughout this process. He has given Trump every opportunity to pay the judgment voluntarily. He has entertained motion after motion from Trump's lawyers. He has been fair and measured in his rulings, but he has also been firm in enforcing the judgment. Trump seems to have believed that he could delay indefinitely, that eventually the judge would give up or that something would change. But Judge Engoron has made it clear that the judgment will be enforced, that Trump's properties will be seized, and that Trump will be held accountable for his fraud. The next few weeks are going to be fascinating to watch. The receivers are going to take control of Trump Tower and begin the process of preparing it for sale. They'll have to deal with existing tenants, maintain the property, handle any legal issues that arise. Eventually, they'll market the property for sale. I'm very curious to see what it sells for. My guess is that it will sell for far less than Trump has claimed it's worth, which will be yet another humiliation for him. Trump's other properties will go through similar processes, each seizure, each receiver taking control, each property being sold will be another blow to Trump's ego and another reminder that he's not above the law. By the time this is all over, Trump is going to have lost most of the properties that made him famous. The Trump real estate empire will be gone, dismantled to pay for Trump's fraud. I've spent my entire adult life believing in the American legal system, believing that it's fair and that it holds people accountable regardless of their wealth or status. But it'll admit that Trump tested that belief. For years, I watched him lie and cheat and commit fraud, and I watched him escape consequences time and time again. I started to wonder whether the system could actually hold someone like Trump accountable. But what's happening now with the seizure of his assets has restored my faith. Judge Engoron has shown that the system can work, that even someone as wealthy and famous as Trump can be held accountable when they break the law. The seizure of Trump's assets isn't just about collecting a judgment. It's about vindicating the principle that no one is above the law, that fraud has consequences, that you can't lie and cheat your way to success without eventually paying the price. Trump built his entire identity on those buildings, on that brand, on the image of success and wealth. And now it's all being taken away because he couldn't be honest, because he had to commit fraud, because he thought the rules didn't apply to him.
Yeah.
That's justice. That's accountability. And that's exactly what Donald Trump deserves. What makes this moment even more significant is that it completely destroys the mythology Trump has spent decades constructing. He sold himself to America as this brilliant deal maker, this self-made billionaire who turned $1 million from his father into a real estate empire. But the truth, as we're now seeing in brutal detail, is that Trump's wealth was always a house of cards built on fraud, deception,
Baby,
and
I
lies.
mean, they are trying
The
to
properties
find
being
any and
seized aren't
everything.
monuments to
What
business
about the
genius.
money that the
They're evidence of
Democrats?
criminal fraud.
Don't
The
come in here
valuations
crying.
Trump
Listen,
claimed
don't
were
come in here crying. Don't come in here crying. Why you didn't show my comment? Don't come in here crying. It's too late for that. If you need a pacifier or somebody to rock you to sleep, go on over there. Don't come over here with this mess. And I'm going to tell you now, you ain't going to want me to tell you where to get you a self-made pacifier. I'm going to tell you where to stick your finger, yeah, and then put it in your mouth if you want to suck on something. But don't come over here wanting somebody to pat you on your back and pacify you because your pimp daddy done went too far and crossed too many lines, and his days are numbered. Now, if you want to do some conjugal visits and go in there and lay up with him, do that. Plan for that. But don't come over here talking about Democrats. What about the Haitians? Go on. Anybody trying to hear that shit? And don't be mad at me if you got a PPP loan and your ass is finna be in trouble. They finna make a big example out of this fraud right here. And all y'all who believe in Big Daddy Trump, your ass gonna be in trouble too. Yeah, ask to be in the same cell with him since you like him so much. Okay?
fantasies designed to deceive banks and investors. The whole thing was a con
Joseph,
from the
this
beginning.
man is really
And now
dangerous.
the con is
Absolutely.
collapsing in spectacular fashion. I think about the contractors Trump
first.
stiffed over the years, the small business owners
He
who
knew he
never
was
got
broke
paid
when
for
he
their
got
work
back
on
in
Trump
office.
properties. The people he defrauded
made
and destroyed
deals.
on his way up.
How he
Those people are
got in
probably
that
watching
position
this asset seizure
was not a laughing
with a
matter. You're
sense of
right.
vindication, seeing that Trump is finally facing consequences for the
Absolutely.
way he has treated others throughout his career. This isn't just about one fraud judgment. This is
Several.
about decades of dishonest business practices finally catching up to him.
And
what
these
I
people
find
kill
most
me as if they think he is considering them. Like he's your friend. Do y'all not see what he do to people that work for him? Help him? His friends? He don't give a shit about you. You are not a part of making America great again. Yeah, and folk need to get that out their head. Because a lot of these people that's been deported voted for him. And where they get you? Yeah, okay. That's what I thought. It's the Democrats' fault too, right? He said that the Epstein files was going to be full of Democrats. And look who running. He been running ever since he opened his big ass mouth. He talked too much. He talked too much. And it sounds like that big ass mouth done got him finna have him be hit with some espionage. And whose fault is that gonna be? Yeah, anybody that have to always blame somebody else when they get caught are losers. Now y'all losers too for backing this shit.
Satisfying is that Trump
He
can't
your
scam his
hero.
way out of this. He can claim the judgment is unfair. He can attack the judge and the attorney general. He can rage on social media all he wants. But none of that changes the fact that receivers are taking control of his properties right now. That his
Absolutely.
buildings are being prepared for sale.
Give me
His
that.
name is being stripped from the empire he built. The reality is undeniable and unavoidable. Donald Trump is losing everything, and it's happening because he committed fraud and thought he'd never have to pay for it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's his fault. Yeah, he played himself. He gonna learn. He don't learn today. He gonna feel it too. Ooh, I wonder if they gonna let him. Oh yeah, what he gonna do when they put his ass out the White House? Cause they gotta have a plan to execute a real good exit. Cause he ain't gonna go on his own, and he gonna have to pay rent at the Trump Tower too. His rent ain't free. Yeah, where you going? Hey Marie, what time is it? Why am I not sleepy? Helen, no answer this, then you can think for yourself. Bye. What Helen say? I didn't see it, but bye, Helen. Don't come over here mad at us. I'm gonna find another good one to piss you off. I'm gonna piss you off again. He's finished. Access. Seize. Let me see, is this?
For a limited time, not a permanent of political power. We are witnessing an event that legal scholars and historians have long considered a... Yes, welcome. The announcement of federal indictments against a former U.S. president marks a turning point in the history of the American Republic, a moment where the theoretical system of justice collides with the practical realities of political power. We are witnessing an event that legal scholars and historians have long considered a hypothetical scenario, a stress lesson for the Constitution, and now brought to federal courts. This is not simply a new news cycle or an extension of the partisan squabbles that characterize modern Washington. This is a structural shift. The Justice Department's decision to bring charges against Mr. Donald Trump under the Espionage Act represents crossing a Rubicon, demonstrating that the federal government is ready to debate the limits of executive authority and national security in a criminal court. To understand the gravity of this moment, one must look beyond the instantaneous pronouncements of major news channel subtitles and the frantic press releases of political action committees. This is not political theater. This is the rigorous and systematic application of federal criminal law against the highest office the nation has ever produced. The charges do not stem from a trivial bureaucratic oversight or a dispute over library records. These actions strike a blow to the very core of the state's ability to safeguard secrets, protect assets, and ensure the continuity of its defense mechanisms. By invoking the Espionage Act, the special prosecutor has elevated this case beyond a standard political scandal, directly into the realm of national security and the rule of law. This is a battle for institutional credibility on a scale rarely seen in Western democracies. The Department of Justice, an institution designed to stand apart from the political ego of the White House, claims that certain laws governing the processing of national defense information are universally applicable regardless of the accused's status, popularity, or former title. This is a proposition that seems simple in a civics textbook, but is incredibly complex in practice. The upcoming legal battle will not only determine the personal fate of President Donald Trump, It will also demonstrate the functional limits of the presidency and the
It
resilience
did
of
look
the
like it was
American legal
peeling.
system in an age of extreme
That's that,
confrontation.
what is it called?
At the heart of this
Reptilian.
legal earthquake is the Espionage Act of 1917, forged amidst the hardships of World War, directly into the realm of national security and the rule of law. This is a
Espionage.
battle for institutional credibility on a scale rarely seen in Western democracies. The Department of Justice, an institution designed to stand apart from the political ego of the White House, claims that certain laws governing the processing of national defense information are universally applicable regardless of the accused's status, popularity, or former title. This is a proposition that seems simple in a civics textbook, but is incredibly complex in practice. The upcoming legal battle will not only determine the personal fate of President Donald Trump, it will also demonstrate the functional limits of the presidency and the resilience of the American legal system in an age of extreme confrontation. At the heart of this legal earthquake is the Espionage Act of 1917, forged amidst the hardships of World War I. While the name of the act conjures images of covert espionage, secret meeting points, and foreign agents, its legal application is far broader and more technical. It is designed to criminalize the unauthorized storage, transmission, or disclosure of information relating to national defense that could harm the United States or be used to the benefit of any foreign country. It is a powerful weapon created to ensure the government maintains absolute control over its most sensitive data. Historically, the Espionage Act has been rarely used, generally reserved for government employees who leak classified information, whistleblowers who bypass appropriate channels, or genuine foreign elements operating on American soil. Applying this law to a former commander-in-chief is legally new, but the text of the law makes no exception for the presidency after the individual leaves office. The critical element of the law, particularly Section 793E, involves the deliberate withholding of national defense information. This could shift the legal debate away from accidental misuse, the kind of negligence that could lead to security clearance revocation.
Well, why is he
toward the
crying?
deliberate,
If
conscious
he not gonna
decision to
lose nothing,
withhold
why he crying?
documents that the government wants back.
BSK,
The seriousness of this charge
PCMA.
cannot be overstated. A violation of the Espionage Act carries significant potential for imprisonment, with each charge theoretically punishable by up to 10 years in federal prison. While sentencing guidelines often result in shorter actual terms,
Absolutely,
the legal
Joseph. He
cap
made a mockery of the
demonstrates
whole system.
legislature's commitment to protecting state secrets. By filing charges under this particular law, the Department of Justice signals that it views the alleged conduct not as a corruption breach related to the Presidential Records Act, but as a substantial threat to the integrity of the nation's intelligence capabilities. This distinction is crucial. By separating this case from disputes over letters, diaries, or unclassified memoirs, it presents the matter instead as a breach of the agreement between the commander-in-chief and the security apparatus he once led. The indictment released by the Department of Justice offers a detailed and comprehensive account of exactly what the government alleges occurred. It paints a picture of a chaotic and insecure environment where some of the nation's most closely guarded secrets were stored in ballrooms, bathrooms, and office spaces accessible to club members and staff. The indictment alleges that Donald Trump didn't simply take documents home as souvenirs. He hid documents detailing American nuclear programs, potential vulnerabilities of the United States and its allies to military attacks, and retaliatory plans in response to a foreign attack. These are not trivial documents. They represent the highest level of secrecy. Their disclosure is likely to contain information that could alter the geopolitical balance or jeopardize specific sources of human intelligence. The indictment alleges more than just concealment. It outlines a narrative of obstruction. It claims that when the government, the National Archives, and subsequently the Department of Justice requested the return of these documents, an organized effort was made to conceal them. This includes allegations that the former president instructed his staff to move boxes to avoid detection by his own lawyers, thus causing his lawyers to provide false certificates to the FBI. This element of obstruction of justice acts as a force multiplier for the Espionage Act charges. In the eyes of federal prosecutors, cover-ups are often circumstances that reinforce the criminal intent needed to prove the underlying crime. It is important to emphasize that an indictment is a document of accusation, not a verdict. It represents the government's version of events, a record constructed from witness statements, surveillance footage, and text messages. However, the specificity of the allegations, from timestamps on when boxes were moved to verbatim transcripts of audio recordings in which the former president claims to possess a classified document and cannot disclose it, suggests a trial based on documentary evidence, not merely the testimony of switched witnesses. The Department of Justice has essentially laid its cards on the table and presented a case based on the defendant's own words and actions to prove the elements of the crime. To understand the danger of this situation, it is necessary to separate this federal indictment from other legal challenges faced by Mr. Donald Trump.
His
Findings
immunity
of legal
got stripped.
liability related to sexual abuse or business fraud, or even state-level criminal cases concerning hush money payments in New York.
His
are of a different
immunity was stripped. He does not
While
have
important, these
immunity.
cases concern personal conduct,
I said that
business
earlier.
ethics, and state-level procedural laws. They are damaging in terms of reputation and finances.
Yeah, his properties are being seized right now.
Of the United States.
Did you not know that? Thriller Ali? His properties are being seized right now. And he does not have immunity. That order came down this week, I think. And he's in contempt of court. Thank you. Thank you. And he was in contempt. And he has impeachment trial coming up.
The federal documents case, however, is entirely different because it involves the federal government defending its sovereign interests in its own survival and security. The prosecutor is not a district attorney elected by a local electorate, but a special counsel appointed by the Attorney General working under the auspices of the U.S. Department of Justice.
He never should have.
Involves the nuclear triad,
never
foreign
been
relations,
reelected. Nope.
and military
He should have never.
planning.
He was a
This
convicted felon.
elevates the question from, did he break a business rule, to, did he endanger the security of the Republic? Furthermore, jurisdiction lies with the federal court. Here, procedural rules are strict, judges are appointed for life but confirmed by the Senate, and the jury pool is drawn from a wider region. The federal system has an unyielding efficiency sometimes lacking in state courts. The conviction rate in federal courts is extremely high. This isn't because the system is rigged, but because federal prosecutors often don't indict unless the evidence is overwhelming. By bringing this case, the Department of Justice has shown that they believe the evidence is strong enough to withstand the most rigorous scrutiny imaginable. The impeachment of a former president. The process that follows will be difficult, slow, and complex. This is not a case that will be resolved in a few weeks. The first major hurdle concerns the Classified Information Procedures Act, or CPA. Because the evidence itself is highly classified, the defense team needs security clearance even to see the documents their client is accused of stealing. There will be a lengthy legal process regarding what classified information can be presented to the jury, how it can be summarized, and what needs to be censored to protect ongoing intelligence operations. The defense will likely request the dismissal of the case, relying on broad theories of executive power and arguing that a president has absolute authority to declassify documents essentially on their own accord, a legal theory that has never been tested in this context. The prosecution will attempt to bring the Department of Justice to trial alongside the defendant, alleging misconduct and selective evasion. The presiding judge will have immense discretion in setting the timeline, deciding on the admissibility
America
of evidence,
wasn't ready
and
for a
managing
black
the inevitable
woman
media
as
circus.
president. I
Every
don't
decision will be
know
scrutinized,
why
and many
they
may be
hate Kamala
overturned
so
before the
much.
trial even begins. We must
This
also be
is-
prepared for the fact that the legal calendar
No,
will
it's not.
clash with the political calendar.
Daryl, don't come in here
With
lying.
the
That case was
2024
not
election
dismissed.
cycle already underway, Every
Do your
hearing and every
research
request
and
will
then
be
come
viewed
back
through the
and
lens of the election
apologize for
campaign.
lying.
The defense has a
But you're a
strategic
Trump lover, so
incentive to
that's all
delay
y'all do.
proceedings until after the election. They
Jelon
believe
asked
a
from over
victory will
here.
allow a new administration to dismiss the case or the elected president to attempt a self-pardon. The prosecution has an institutional obligation to bring the case to trial swiftly to demonstrate that justice is not held hostage to political timelines. This clash between the speed of law and the speed of politics will define the coming year. In analyzing the broader implications of this indictment, the perspective of conservative institutionalists like George Will offers a vital framework. A staunch defender of constitutional norms and limited government, Will views these developments not through the lens of partisan loyalty, but through the lens of the rule of law. For institutionalists, the conservative principle is not blind allegiance to a leader, but adherence to the structure of the Constitution. From this perspective, the alleged conduct, treating state secrets as personal property and failing to comply with subpoenas, is an
Giving up
insult to the
secrets.
order that conservatism seeks to protect. The argument put forward by this school of thought is that the presidency is a temporary office, a trust held for a limited time, not a permanent concession of king-like privileges. The fact that a former president could disregard laws regulating national defense information implies that the rule of law has been replaced by the supremacy of man. George Will and like-minded analysts argue that the arming of justice narrative championed by the former president's allies is a dangerous distortion of reality. For them, enforcing the law against a powerful president is not arming. It is fulfilling the fundamental purpose of the justice system. While dismissing such evidence is a political act, bringing charges is a legal duty. This perspective highlights the deep divide within the American right between those who prioritize protecting institutions and those who prioritize protecting a movement leader. The reaction of financial markets to this indictment offers another perspective, often separate from the emotional fervor of voters. Markets generally dislike uncertainty, but they hate instability even more. The initial reaction to the indictments was not a dramatic collapse, but rather a cautious and calculated risk assessment. Institutional investors in global markets are more concerned with the stability of the U.S. political system than with the private legal fate of one individual. However, the risk premium on American assets is being reassessed. If the political environment becomes so toxic that a peaceful transfer of power or the consistent application of the law is threatened, the United States becomes a riskier place to invest capital. Leading figures in the financial world, those managing pension funds and global assets, are watching whether the Republican Party will remain a functional governing body or be consumed by a single legal defense effort. The concern is not a sudden economic collapse, but the slow erosion of the United States' full trust and credibility, not just in its debts, but in its governance. If the legal system is found to have collapsed or become a purely political tool of vengeance, the long-term attractiveness of the U.S. market will diminish. This would be a dangerous development. Within the Republican Party, the reaction to the espionage charges has revealed a complex and fragmented picture. Publicly, the loudest, the group closest to the former president, have rushed to his defense with vehement rhetoric, reiterating claims of a two-tier justice system and vowing revenge. This breaking news is certainly circulating on social media and in the news. This is a deterrent strategy, warning potential opponents that abandoning the leader will lead to political exile. However, beneath this superficial level of unity, there is a strategic, insidious plan among a significant group of Republican officials. The Senate leadership and vulnerable members in critical districts have been particularly hesitant, generally focusing their comments on procedural complaints rather than defending the specific conduct alleged in the indictment. There is a growing murmuring that the details of the indictment, particularly the careless handling of war plans and nuclear secrets, are essentially indefensible.
I hear Trump has a lot of money tied up in Russia
for the party.
because
While
American
having to
banks
satisfy
won't
a
do
base
business
that
with
believes
him
the
anymore.
accusations are illegitimate, they
That's
also
why
have to
he
contend with
is
the general
friend.
electorate
Oh no,
that
he
largely
owes
views the
Putin.
alleged
Putin
behavior
mad at
as
him.
reckless. While this rift isn't always
He been
visible at
playing
press
everybody he
conferences,
broke. He
it's
owes
increasingly
Putin from the
evident at
first go
private donor
around.
meetings and strategic planning
And
sessions.
Putin helped him
The
win the
implications for
election.
American democracy extend far beyond the polls of the next
And
election.
then he came and was
We are
eating out of
witnessing a
Putin's
test of the
ass.
proposition that no one is above the law. This phrase is often repeated as a cliche,
But he
its
messing with
practical
Putin's all
application
too
is
right now.
extremely difficult. If the justice system, fearing political backlash, fails to hold a former president accountable for blatant violations of national security laws, it essentially creates an untouchable elite. On the other hand, if the prosecution is perceived as illegitimate by half the country, it undermines the public trust necessary for the functioning of the justice system. The Department of Justice is treading this fine line. They need to prove that their actions were guided by evidence and the law, not by political animosity. The risk of setting a precedent where political opponents are routinely prosecuted is real and must be countered. However, the risk of setting a precedent where a president could treat nuclear secrets as personal keepsakes with impunity is equally, if not more, dangerous for the Republic. The outcome of this case will show future presidents and the world where the balance of power truly lies in the American system. The media narrative surrounding this case often undermines legal reality. Headlines are often designed to increase interest by reducing complex procedural arguments to binary win or lose frameworks. The reality of federal trials is nuanced, technical, and often incredibly tedious. Public discourse tends to confuse justice with outcome. If a judge rules in favor of the defense on a procedural petition, one side cries corruption. If he rules in favor of the prosecution, the other side alleges prejudice. However, legal reality is built upon precedents and laws. We must be careful to distinguish between what is said outside the courthouse and what is said inside the courtroom. Inside, the debates about a witch hunt are irrelevant. The debates about the chain of evidence and the element of intent are everything. The disconnect between the legal process, which requires patience and silence, and the political process, which requires speed and noise, is a major source of national tension. The duty of the media and the responsibility of the citizen is to look beyond the subtitles and to investigate and understand the laws. Ultimately, this moment is significant for every major institution in American life. The Department of Justice is testing its independence by demonstrating its ability to oversee the executive branch, even at the cost of intense political pressure. The judiciary is testing its legitimacy by putting a particular judge under scrutiny to see if it can handle a case of this magnitude fairly and efficiently. Voters are being tested on their resilience, on their ability to process uncomfortable truths, and to distinguish between political leaders and the laws that govern the country. If institutions remain strong, the system strengthens itself. The law is enforced, decisions are made, and the country moves forward, weathered but steadfast. If institutions collapse, if the case is derailed by political violence, if the jury system fails under pressure, or if the political class successfully delegitimizes the courts, the damage to the democratic fabric will be deep and long-lasting. We are learning in real time just how robust the checks and balances of the American Constitution are. Looking ahead, it is impossible to predict the ultimate outcome of this case with certainty. The variables are too numerous: jury selection, evidentiary decisions, the appeals process, and the unpredictable nature of the election itself. What we do know is that the United States has entered a period of profound legal and political uncertainty. Donald Trump's indictment under the Espionage Act is not the end of a story, but the beginning of a long and arduous chapter in the American experience. The gravity of the charges demands a prudent and cautious response from citizens. This is not a time for celebration or despair, but a time for vigilance. The justice system has been activated, and its wheels will turn slowly, unconcerned by the political calendar. Whether this process results in conviction or acquittal, the path taken will leave an indelible mark on the history of the presidency and the future of the rule of law. We are witnessing the architecture of the republic being tested by forces designed to engulf it. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. New videos will be coming every day.
Okay, so here's gonna be my last one. I need to make myself go to sleep. But that's everybody want to hear what China would. They just said something about an hour ago. Let's see what China. Oh, they over there protesting. Oh, wait a minute. Now I don't want to see World War III. Oh, hold on. I don't know if I want to see that. Yeah, Iran. Hold on. Let me see this one. Let's see this one. I ain't trying to see no fighting.
Are we headed for World War III? Or has it already begun? Okay, before I get started, please leave a comment with your view and subscribe because we are going to be matching patterns from geopolitics and history with current developments. And you know what? We're all in this together. So buckle up because we're going to go deep today. This is not the time for quick takes or partisan arguments, right? We're going to have a long, serious conversation about power, history, and where the world may be heading. Ready? Let's slow down and talk this through. For most of us, global war feels impossible.
Oh, I can't.
Very far
Oh,
away.
Nala Steve Willer,
Until it
thank
isn't.
you.
And the reason it feels impossible and far away is because the early stages never look dramatic. They look reasonable. They look technical. They look like budgets, doctrines, reviews, and speeches about security. You know the line, the devil is in the details? Well, war is in the whispers. The parts we miss half the time because we're not really listening. But there are patterns that have come up again and again in the many, many years of human wars and conflict. History shows us something uncomfortable. The road to catastrophe is paved with logic. The logic that leaders use to justify
You
saying,
said,
we
no,
have
really,
no
this
choice.
time for
Every
concern,
major
this
conflict
man
begins
is not
with that
operating
line.
sanely. Oh, yeah, no,
I'm
he's
going to
sick.
take you back to the 1930s, to beyond the battles and the invasions, to beyond the fog of war, to the patterns. And this is the most consistent pattern. 4 points, 4 elements that keep repeating. First, states argue the existing system no longer protects them. Second, they expand military capacity at unprecedented speed. Third, they question or criticize or outright abandon international rules that they see as hurdles. Fourth, other powers hesitate, hoping restraint will emerge on its own. It almost never does. Apply that pattern to any war and you'll see what I mean. No matter who the aggressor and who the victor, that pattern has been repeated and repeated and repeated. Today, the United States is operating on that very familiar logic. President Donald Trump returned to office in 2024 to a world that is clearly more fragmented, more competitive, and much more dangerous than the one in his first term. His diagnosis was straightforward. The post-Cold War security system is breaking down. Adversaries are rearming. Technology has accelerated warfare. And deterrence, in his view, must be restored through scale. And that logic produced extraordinary proposals. $1 trillion defense budgets, large-scale nuclear modernization, missile defense shields, expanded naval fleets, and major investment in AI, cyber, and space-based warfare. Yes, it's been a roller coaster. But from a purely strategic standpoint, none of this is irrational. States throughout history respond to uncertainty by accumulating power. You see how it fits into that pattern, right? Now, what happens when that power grows faster than the rules meant to manage it? In the years before the Second World War, no major power believed it was acting irrationally. Imperial Japan argued it was securing supply lines and protecting its future. Germany argued it was restoring balance and sovereignty. Britain and France argued restraint would preserve peace. Everyone believed their logic was sound. The intention wasn't the problem. The problem was interaction. What does that mean exactly? Each decision taken in isolation seemed defensible, perfectly logical. But taken together, they produced collapse. When Japan withdrew from international institutions, it wasn't declaring war, it was declaring independence from constraint. When Germany rearmed, it wasn't launching an invasion, it was testing limits. And when no one enforced those limits, Nazi ambition expanded, logically, to fill the vacuum.
Because he didn't comply. He's in
When
contempt.
you first walked to the gym on
Of
that
course.
first episode.
And
then
he,
you
the
compare that
judge,
to now, that difference.
he's intentionally
That's not
defying the
strength,
courts, and
it's
the judge
capability.
ordered it.
Now you're capable. Check this out.
And Jack Smith, they unsealed the documents. They unsealed those court documents that
You'll be a lot more
had,
confident walking into the gym and finding
his
those
attorneys
pieces
have been
of equipment
requesting
that
for
you've
them to be
learned on
sealed. You must have missed the
episode 1,
earlier
2, and 3. If you followed along in
upload.
this series,
I covered all of that
actually
earlier.
builds your confidence to now. And so now, to this day,
Oh, that's a
episode 5.
commercial.
Now, here's a question for you. Do you think peace is maintained by weapons?
Eric, you must have
I'd
missed
say
it.
yes and no. Weapons deter, but only inside a system. That system is built on treaties, norms, institutions, and expectations of consequence. When those structures weaken, weapons stop stabilizing and start destabilizing. Not because leaders want war.
Those documents was unsealed, and they've been heard, and got a whole bunch of espionage, fraud, treason, witness tampering, all of it. And everything that people thinking that he done got away with, they got the recordings legally, and President can't. Okay, where you been, Eric? He's been to court. The judge, they've already ruled against that. He no longer has exemption. Where you been? Where you been? You been yeah, you ain't been paying attention. He done been to court all week. He done got beat up all last week. 2 or 3 times a day. Where you been? You sound dumb and slow. Why you? Yeah, he lost his immunity. I mean, what are you talking about, Eric? You gotta be a bot. Because you don't... I mean, what are you talking about? You sound real slow. You been drinking that Kool-Aid. You been drinking that Trump aid. His properties done start being seized. Trump Tower. Where you been? Why you over here bumping your gums like you on top of it? Your ass behind. You slow. Yes, he can if the federal... Okay, bye, Eric. You dumb. You slow. Do your research. Don't tell him nothing. He trolling. Either he's slow or he trolling. Or he has not been paying attention. He's not been paying attention. Yeah, see, this is what I can't stand with people. And they think they know it all. Things have changed. His power is being stripped. He is operating right now out of order. Yes, I don't know where you been. I don't know where you been. I have no idea. And then you coming in here talking like you know what you're talking about. You ain't did a bit of research. Not even a little bit. Not even a little bit. Let me hear this one.
How Canada responded by building an entirely new
Trump's Don Roe doctrine backfires and Canada's response changes everything. On January 3rd, 2026, the United States military entered Venezuela and seized its president in the middle of the night. Within hours, Donald Trump stood at Mar-a-Lago and declared what he called
can't
the
do
Don
that.
Roe doctrine, a plan for total American dominance over the entire Western Hemisphere. And then he said something that should terrify every Canadian
Okay,
watching
well
this
then
video.
shut up, Eric,
American
and
dominance in the
leave.
Western Hemisphere will never be questioned again.
We know better.
The State Department's official account posted,
And you still
"This
talking.
is our hemisphere,
Okay,
and President
let me
Trump
help
will
you
not
out.
allow our security to be threatened." Our hemisphere, Canada is in that hemisphere. So is Greenland. So is the Panama Canal. And Trump has already made clear he wants
Eric
all of
Dum
them.
Dum,
But here's what nobody
Nixon was
expected.
not already
Within
a
72
convicted
hours of
felon.
Trump's Venezuela
Trump
declaration,
is.
Prime Minister Mark Carney made a series of moves that
Yeah, he's
completely
out of
stunned the
appeals. Where
international
have you
community.
been, slow?
Moves that signal Canada is no
But I'm
longer
going
playing
to
by the
help
old
you out. I'm
rules.
going to put you out.
This is the story of how the United
You like to
States
hear
just
yourself
declared
talk
itself the
or
supreme
type.
power over its neighbors.
So get out.
And how Canada responded by building an entirely new alliance system to protect itself. Let me take you through exactly what happened. To understand why this moment is so significant, you need to understand what just happened in Venezuela and what it means for every country in the Western Hemisphere, especially Canada. On January 3rd, 2026, American forces launched what they called Operation Absolute Resolve. They struck military installations across Venezuela. Then helicopter-borne troops swooped into Caracas and captured President
help
Nicolas Maduro and
Trump
his wife
lost.
while they slept. By the end of the day, both
Hold
were
on.
in jail in New York facing drug trafficking charges. This was the most direct U.S. military intervention in Latin America since the operation in
just
Panama in 1989. Let that sink in. The United States just flew into a sovereign nation, seized its head of state, and brought him back to face American justice without international authorization, without UN approval.
Okay, let me help out this way.
There comes a point in every legal battle where you run out of tricks, where you've exhausted every procedural maneuver, where the courts have heard all your arguments and rejected every single one of them. Donald Trump has reached that point. A federal judge has just rejected what was essentially Trump's final legal shield. The last barrier between him and arrest, and the implications are staggering. Judge Tanya Chutkan, who's been overseeing Trump's federal election interference case, has issued a ruling that strips away Trump's remaining defenses and clears the path for his immediate arrest. This isn't a temporary setback for Trump. This is the end of the road. The judge has spoken, and
Although
Trump
we
now faces the
come
very real prospect
to
of being arrested within
lead
days,
down
possibly
the
hours.
road.
Let me explain what just happened in that courtroom, because the legal significance of this ruling cannot be overstated. Trump's lawyers have been arguing that he couldn't be arrested while he was actively campaigning for political office, claiming that doing so would interfere with the electoral process and violate his First Amendment rights. It was a novel legal theory and, frankly, a desperate one.
What you say? Repeat that for the slow folk in the back. He thought what? Because, see, they think he can't either. Hold on. Let me back that thing up for you. Back that thing up. Let's go. Say again for the slow folk in the
The
back.
last barrier between him and arrest, and the implications are staggering. Judge Tanya Chutkan, who's been overseeing Trump's federal election interference case, has issued a ruling that strips away Trump's remaining defenses and clears the path for his immediate arrest. This isn't a temporary setback for Trump. This is the end of the road. The judge has spoken, and Trump now faces the very real prospect of being arrested within days, possibly hours. Let me explain what just happened in that courtroom, because the legal significance of this ruling cannot be overstated. Trump's lawyers have been arguing that he couldn't be arrested while he was actively campaigning for political office, claiming that doing so would interfere with the electoral process and violate his First Amendment rights. It was a novel legal theory and, frankly, a desperate one, but it was the last card Trump had to play. Judge Chutkan didn't just reject this argument. She demolished it. In a statement of opinion that's
Demolished.
already being hailed as a landmark decision, she made it crystal clear that no one, not even a former president running for office, is above the law or immune from arrest when there is probable cause to believe they've committed serious crimes.
Absolutely.
I've read Judge Chutkan's opinion 3 times now, and each time am more impressed by its clarity and its courage.
It's
She
clear.
writes that allowing political candidates to avoid arrest would create a perverse incentive for criminals to run for office as a shield against accountability. She notes that Trump's argument would mean that anyone facing criminal charges could simply declare themselves a candidate and become untouchable. That's not how democracy works. That's not how the rule of law functions. And Judge Chutkan wasn't having any of it. The specific language the judge used is worth quoting. She wrote that Trump's claim of immunity from arrest based on his campaign activities is without merit, without precedent, and fundamentally at odds with the principles of equal justice under law. She continued, the defendant seems to believe that his political ambitions place him in a special category, exempt from the processes that govern every other American. This court categorically rejects that notion. Those are powerful words from a federal judge, and they signal that Trump's ability to use the legal system to delay accountability has finally reached its end. What makes this ruling so significant is that it removes the last procedural obstacle to Trump's arrest. Has already been
Yeah.
indicted.
Treason.
The evidence
Back
against
that
him has been
thing up.
presented.
Yep, yep.
The grand jury has found probable cause. The only
It's
thing that's
another
been
one he
preventing
got
his
I
arrest is
like
this.
slow
Series of
motion
legal
with it.
challenges the
Slow
Trump's team
motion
has been
with it.
throwing
Yeah, I
up,
like that
buying
one too.
time, hoping something would change. Well, Judge Chutkan has ended that game. She has ordered that Trump must surrender for arrest within 72 hours, and if he doesn't voluntarily surrender, she has authorized federal
Whoa,
marshal,
whoa,
already
whoa.
been indicted. This court categorically rejects that notion. Those
Hold
are
up.
powerful words from a federal judge, and they signal that Trump's ability to use the legal system to delay accountability has finally reached its end. What makes this ruling so significant is that it removes the last procedural obstacle to Trump's arrest. Has already been indicted. The evidence against him has been presented. The grand jury has found probable cause. The only thing that's been preventing his arrest is this. Series of legal challenges that Trump's team has been throwing up, buying time, hoping something would change. Well, Judge Chutkan has ended that game. She has ordered that Trump must surrender for arrest within 72 hours, and if he doesn't voluntarily surrender, she has authorized federal marshals to take him into custody wherever he may be. I want you to think about what that means. We're potentially days away from seeing a former president of the United States arrested by federal law enforcement. This is unprecedented in American history. We came close with Nixon, but he resigned and was pardoned before it got to this point. Trump has refused to resign from anything, has shown no contrition, has fought every step of the way, and now is going to face the consequences that has been dodging for years. Trump's reaction to Judge Chutkan's ruling has been exactly what you'd expect. He is raging on Truth Social about how this is the greatest injustice in American history, about how Judge Chutkan is a radical leftist who's trying to interfere in the election, about how this proves the entire system is rigged against him. But here's what Trump doesn't seem to understand. His rhetoric doesn't change the law. His complaints don't alter the facts. His anger doesn't make him immune from arrest. The judge has ruled, and unless a higher court intervenes immediately, which seems unlikely, Trump is going to be arrested. The charges Trump faces are serious. We're talking about conspiracy to defraud the United States, conspiracy to obstruct an official proceeding, obstruction of an official proceeding, and conspiracy against rights. These are federal felonies, each carrying potential sentences of years in prison. And Judge Chutkan's ruling makes it clear that she believes the evidence supporting these charges is substantial. In her opinion, she noted that the government has presented evidence of Trump's direct involvement in attempting to overturn the 2020 election results, of his coordination with co-conspirators to submit false slates of electors, of his pressure campaign on state officials and the Department of Justice. What Judge Chutkan has done is particularly important because Chess addressed and rejected every creative legal argument Trump's team has made over the past year. They argued presidential immunity. She rejected it, noting that Trump's actions were not official presidential acts and that immunity doesn't extend to criminal conduct anyway. They argued double jeopardy based on his impeachment. She rejected that, explaining that impeachment is a political process, not a criminal one, and doesn't bar criminal prosecution.
Hold on. I just heard something out now that I didn't
Has
know.
issued an arrest warrant for a former. I want you to pause for a second. Not because this is shocking news, but because this moment quietly redraws the limits of power. An international court has issued an arrest warrant for a former president of the United States, not a dictator, not a failed state leader, an American president. And if your first reaction is, that can't really matter, that's exactly why it does. This is not a legal headline. This is a stress test of the entire system that has governed global order since World War II. Because when a superpower decides that rules apply to everyone else but not to itself, the system doesn't collapse overnight. It fractures. Slowly, invisibly, then all at once. Trump's team is calling this an act of war, but the real war isn't legal, it's structural. If you want to understand what's actually being challenged here and why it affects you more than you think, stay with me. Because this story is just beginning, and what comes next explains everything.
Okay,
This is where we need.
I'll come back. Let's finish this. Yeah,
They
when he
argued
said
selective
that 72 hours,
She rejected that too, noting that Trump's prosecution is based
oh,
on
it's
evidence
worse
of
than I thought. But I don't know when this. Yeah, hers says 1 day. Okay, let's go. Let's listen.
She rejected that, explaining that impeachment is a political process, not a criminal one, and doesn't bar criminal prosecution. They argued selective prosecution. She rejected that too, noting that Trump's prosecution is based on evidence of crimes, not on his political affiliation. Every door Trump tried to use to escape has been slammed shut. The timing of this ruling is also significant. We're in 2026, and Trump has been using his legal troubles as a rallying cry for his political movement.
You just heard what he said, 2026.
Telling
Okay.
his supporters that he
Yeah. Now the crime that he committed was is old, but he had been putting it off in appeals and appeals. All of his appeals were depleted. Did you just not hear him say 2026? Genevieve. Yeah, it's not old. It's not old. This one he put out was less than an hour. The one that she talking about is a day old. So where have you been? The charges are old. The judgment is yesterday or the day before. So what are you talking about? It's not old. The ruling was this past week.
is being persecuted by the deep state, claiming that the prosecutions are all politically motivated. They argued presidential immunity. She rejected it, noting that Trump's
Listen with
actions
your
were
good
not
ear.
official presidential acts and that immunity doesn't extend to criminal conduct anyway. They argued double jeopardy based on his impeachment. She rejected that, explaining that impeachment is a political process, not a criminal one, and doesn't bar criminal prosecution. They argued selective prosecution. She rejected that too, noting that Trump's prosecution is based on evidence of crimes, not on his political affiliation. Every door Trump tried to use to escape has been slammed shut. The timing of this ruling is also significant. We're in 2026, and Trump has been using his legal troubles as a rallying cry for his political movement.
I accept
That's
apologies.
been fundraising off his victim narrative, telling his supporters that he's being persecuted by the deep state, claiming that the prosecutions are all politically motivated attempts to prevent him from running for office. But Judge Chutkan's ruling undercuts that narrative. Just made it clear that Trump is being held accountable not because of his politics, but because of his actions, not because of who he is, but because of what he did. I've been talking to legal experts about what happens next, and there's a consensus that Trump's options are now extremely limited. He can try to
He
appeal Judge
absolutely need to go to
Chutkan's
jail.
ruling, but appeals don't automatically stay the arrest order. He would need to convince an appellate court to issue an emergency stay, which requires showing a likelihood of
They're
success
already
on the
seizing his
merits.
properties.
Given how thoroughly Judge Chutkan
We care.
dismantled
Gone
his
fishing.
arguments,
Go
that's going to
fishing
be nearly
somewhere.
impossible.
We
The most
care.
likely scenario is that Trump will be arrested within the 72-hour window the judge specified. The
Now
arrest process itself
that
is going
part
to be
right there
extraordinary.
is where I'm trying to get clarity on. So I'm gonna finish listening to him and hear what she's talking about with this 72 hours, because that part I'm not very familiar with. Let me see.
Trump still has Secret Service protection as a former president. The logistics of arresting someone with a Secret Service detail are complicated. Federal marshals will have to coordinate with the Secret Service to ensure the arrest happens smoothly and safely. Trump will likely be allowed to surrender voluntarily at a predetermined location rather than being dragged out of Mar-a-Lago in handcuffs, though if he refuses to surrender, the marshals have the authority to go get him. Once Trump is arrested, he'll go through the standard booking process. He'll be fingerprinted, photographed, and processed like any other criminal defendant. The image of Trump in a mugshot is going to be broadcast around the world. His lawyers will argue for his release pending trial, and the judge will have to determine whether Trump poses a flight risk or a danger to the community. Given Trump's resources and his history of flouting court orders, I wouldn't be surprised if the judge imposes strict conditions on his release, possibly including electronic monitoring or travel restrictions.
I think it's gonna
The
be so
political
messed up.
fallout from Trump's arrest is going to be intense. His supporters are going to be outraged. We'll likely see protests, possibly violence from the more extreme elements of his base. Trump himself will undoubtedly try to use his arrest as a political weapon, claiming it proves everything he's been saying about the system being rigged. But I think the impact on moderate voters
He shouldn't have
and
never
independents
been
is going to
elected,
be
and he's a
different. Seeing a
convicted
former
felon.
president arrested because a federal judge determined he poses no exception to the law might actually reassure people that our system of justice still works.
It don't, because he
Judge
shouldn't have
Chutkan's
never been
opinion also
elected.
addresses Trump's claims about the political timing of his arrest. Trump has argued that arresting him during an election cycle is inherently political and designed to hurt his electoral chances. The judge rejected this argument forcefully. She wrote that if Trump's logic were accepted, it would mean that anyone running for office could commit crimes with impunity, knowing they couldn't be held accountable while campaigning. She noted that the timing of the prosecution was dictated by when Trump committed his crimes and when the investigation was completed, not by any political calendar. What I find particularly satisfying about Judge Chutkan's ruling is how it reaffirms fundamental principles that Trump has spent years trying to undermine. She reaffirms that no one is above the law. She reaffirms that running for political office doesn't grant immunity from criminal prosecution. She reaffirms that the courts are independent and won't be bullied or intimidated by political pressure. These principles are the bedrock of our democracy, and Trump has attacked all of them. Judge Chutkan has defended them, and in doing so, she has defended the Constitution itself. Trump's legal team is going to have some very difficult conversations with him in the next few hours. They're going to have to explain that he's out of
couple of them
options,
done already
that
quit.
he's going to be arrested, that fighting the arrest at this point will only make things worse. But knowing Trump's personality, knowing his inability to accept defeat or acknowledge reality, I suspect he's going to make this as difficult as possible. He might refuse to surrender voluntarily. He might try to barricade himself at Mar-a-Lago. He might try to flee to a country without an extradition treaty. All of
Yeah,
these
we just found. I didn't know that he had already was considering fleeing before. Found that
Slow
out
down just
earlier.
slightly and I want you to pause for a second. Not because this is shocking news, but because this moment quietly redraws the limits of power. An international court has issued an arrest warrant for a former president of the United States, not a dictator, not a failed state leader, an American president. And if your first reaction is, that can't really matter, that's exactly why it does. This is not a legal headline. This is a stress test of the entire system that has governed global order since World War II. Because when a superpower decides that rules apply to everyone else but not to itself, the system doesn't collapse overnight. It fractures. Slowly, invisibly, then all at once. Trump's team is calling this an act of war, but the real war isn't legal. It's structural.
HBO Max is available on
YouTube. What's actually being
Watch
challenged
any
here
of
and why it affects you more than you think, stay with me. Because this story is just beginning, and what comes next explains everything. This is where we need to slow down just slightly and define the real problem. Because this story is not about whether you like
here
Donald
and
Trump.
why it
It's not about partisan.
affects you more than you think, stay with me. Because this story is just beginning, and what comes next explains everything. This is where we need to slow down just slightly and define the real problem. Because this story is not about whether you like Donald Trump. It's not about partisan loyalty. And it's not even about whether the International Criminal Court has authority over the United States. The real issue is far more uncomfortable. For decades, America helped build a global legal system based on one promise: that power would be restrained by rules, that even the strongest nations would accept limits. That law, not force, would define legitimacy. But here's the contradiction no one likes to confront. The United States helped design that
Okay,
system.
so earlier live we went over 47. There's 47 indictments. So 47 people are that have been helping him along the way. Now, I don't know if those 47 people, because the documents that were unsealed were for him when he was leaving and when he wasn't, in between when he wasn't a president. So the way they are speaking, they are referencing him because at the time these indictments came, or not the indictments, the charges were coming in the investigation, he was not a president. He was not in office. So that's why it sounds like they talking about a long time ago. But really, it was in between his first go round and this one that he is newly in a year. You understand? So these charges, the unsealing, were from before. But all of his appeals just got depleted this week. Does that make sense? So I don't know if his vice president currently is going to be a part of that 47. Because I don't know how far back they're going. Now, some of what they've been saying, I've been listening to, may have triggered over, but if it's just strictly coming from the information from the unsealing, then it will be from Jack Smith. Possibly. I don't know if the new cabinet is going to get hit. Yes, Vance is involved as well. I know he's involved, but I don't know if the 47 people that this indictment is going to hit, if it's going to hit the current. That may be a different indictment. So, because I know that the indictment, because of what he said he listened to. Oh, man. Was you here, Janet? I hate to have to go back to that one because he went over what he heard. Hold on. And what he said he heard catered towards when he knew he had lost the election, how he knew that he implemented himself in those crimes. Yeah, I don't know. Let me go back and listen. I don't. Now it's all running together. Oh Lord, hold on. Faces, not that one. Hold on. That's not it. Yeah, he listened to the tapes, confessions. Hold on. And it sounded like it was the old stuff. Is it this one?
I've followed Jack Smith's work as special counsel for years now, and I've been consistently impressed by his methodical approach, his thoroughness, and his unwillingness to be intimidated
Yes,
by political
they
pressure.
can.
But what he just released in his latest court filing has exceeded even my expectations. Jack Smith has dropped absolutely bombshell new details about Donald Trump's conduct that are so shocking, so meticulously documented, so damning, that even hardened Republicans are stunned into silence. I'm talking about evidence that fundamentally changes our understanding of Trump's crimes, that reveals layers of corruption we didn't even know existed, that shows a level of betrayal that honestly makes me sick to my stomach. Let me start with the headline revelation from Smith's new filing, because this is the one that's going to dominate the news cycle for weeks.
Okay,
Jack
so
Smith
if
has
that's what you believe, fine.
undisclosed evidence
Go
that
ahead and
spent
take
years
your belief
was
somewhere
coordinating
else.
with foreign
I've been
intelligence services while he was
listen,
under
y'all. You're
federal
about to irritate
investigation.
me. The judge has a different ruling. Do you understand? Do your research. No, you Google it. You Google it. You Google it. I'm telling you what the normal process and protocol, the federal judge has overrode that. His ass is going to prison. Now you just hold that and go on someplace else with that. You're not gonna come over here and spread that narrative. That's why his ass is mad. That's why y'all over here. Y'all haven't been over here. What the fuck you over here for now? The game has changed. He has played himself. Period. They're sick of him.
I've followed Jack Smith's
Not foreign
work
governments
as
in some
special
vague
counsel
diplomatic sense.
for
Foreign
years now,
intelligence
and
services.
I've been consistently
Despite
impressed by his methodical approach, his thoroughness, and his unwillingness to be intimidated by political pressure.
I don't think this is the
But what he
one.
just released in his latest court filing has exceeded even my expectations. Jack Smith has dropped absolutely bombshell new details about Donald Trump's conduct
No, that's not the
that are
one.
so shocking, so meticulously
This is not it.
documented, so damning, that even hardened Republicans are stunned into silence.
This one is not it.
I'm talking about evidence that fundamentally changes our understanding of Trump's crimes, that reveals layers of corruption we didn't even.
It's this one.
I've always believed that the truth has a way of coming out eventually. You can bury it, you can fight to keep it hidden, you can throw up every legal barrier imaginable, but eventually the truth surfaces. And today, that's exactly what happened with Donald Trump. A federal judge has unsealed recorded phone calls that Trump and his legal team have been fighting desperately to keep buried for over a year. And let me tell you, Now that I've listened to these recordings, I understand exactly why Trump wanted them to stay secret. These calls are absolutely devastating. They are proof positive of criminal conduct, of conspiracy, of obstruction of justice. Trump faces serious jail time because of what's on these tapes, and there's simply no way to spin them or explain them away. Let me start by explaining how we got here, because the backstory is important. These recordings were obtained by federal investigators over a year ago as part of their investigation into Trump's efforts to obstruct justice and intimidate witnesses. Trump's lawyers immediately filed motions to keep the recordings sealed, arguing attorney-client privilege, executive privilege, and every other privilege they could think of. They claimed that releasing these recordings would violate Trump's rights, would prejudice potential jurors, would cause irreparable harm. Judge Sarah Netburn in the Southern District of New York has been weighing these arguments for months, carefully reviewing the recordings in camera, considering the legal issues. And today she issued her ruling. The recordings will be unsealed and made public because the evidence of criminal conduct on those tapes overrides any privilege claims Trump might have. I've now listened to several of these recordings, and they're even worse than what was described in court filings. We're talking about Trump explicitly discussing how to hide evidence from investigators. We're talking about him strategizing with associates about how to intimidate witnesses into changing their testimony. We're talking about him acknowledging that what he's doing is illegal, but proceeding anyway. These aren't ambiguous conversations that could be interpreted multiple ways. These are crystal clear recordings of Trump engaging in criminal conspiracy. One of the most damning recordings is a phone call between Trump and one of his attorneys discussing documents that had been subpoenaed by federal investigators. On this call, Trump is clearly heard instructing his lawyer to make certain documents disappear. He doesn't use euphemisms. He doesn't speak in code. He literally says that specific documents need to disappear.
So he said for over a year ago. Didn't he say, a year ago? Yeah, I don't know. I don't think that this is including the current cabinet. That would be additional charges that is coming out of this unsealing.
Before investigators can get their hands on them. His lawyer, to their credit, tries to push back, tries to explain that destroying subpoena documents is obstruction of justice. In Trump's response, he says, and I quote, "I don't care what it's called, just make it happen." That's direct evidence of obstruction. That's Trump explicitly ordering the destruction of evidence. Another recording that's absolutely explosive involves Trump speaking with a witness who was scheduled to testify before a grand jury.
That's that Katie Johnson.
Trump is heard offering this witness financial assistance, promising to cover their legal fees, suggesting that there might be
Katie
opportunities
Johnson.
for them down the road if they do the right thing. And when the witness asks what the right thing means, Trump makes it clear, stick to the story we agreed on, don't volunteer information.
See, this is why I don't think that it's including this current administration. I'm thinking that these documents, I'm thinking that right there is that little girl. Now, I'm not sure, but that's what it sounds like to me because she was supposed to get on the stand, be a witness that week or a couple of days before he won the election, and she didn't appear. Y'all remember that? So that's why I think that that's that little 13-year-old girl, Katie Johnson.
Suggesting that there might be opportunities for them down the road if they do the right thing. And when the witness testify before a grand jury, Trump is heard offering this witness financial assistance, promising to cover their legal fees, suggesting that there might be opportunities for them down the road if they do the right thing. And when the witness asks what the right thing means, Trump makes it clear, stick to the story we agreed on, don't volunteer information, and if you don't remember something, just say you don't remember. That's witness tampering. That's Trump coaching a witness on how to commit perjury and offering them bribes to do it. I've been involved in politics for over 5 decades. I've been investigated. I've been deposed. I've
Yeah, you've
testified
been,
under
yep,
oath.
you've been
But I
investigated.
never, not once, engaged in the kind of blatant criminal conduct that's documented on these recordings. And the fact that Trump did all of this while knowing he was potentially being recorded shows an astounding level of arrogance and stupidity. He genuinely believed he was untouchable, that he could break the law openly and face no consequences. The judge's decision to unseal these recordings came with a lengthy written opinion that's worth examining. Judge Netburn systematically dismantled every argument Trump's legal team made for keeping the recording sealed. On attorney-client privilege, she noted that the crime fraud exception applies when communications between lawyer and client are in furtherance of a crime. Since the recording showed Trump instructing his lawyers to help him commit crimes, privilege doesn't apply. On executive privilege, she noted that Trump is no longer president and that executive privilege has never protected criminal conduct anyway, on the claim that releasing the recordings would prejudice potential jurors. She noted that the public's right to know about potential criminal conduct by a former president outweighs any prejudice concerns. Trump's reaction to the unsealing has been predictable. He immediately went on Truth Social and started claiming that the recordings are fake, that they've been doctored, that this is all part of a conspiracy to prevent him from running for president. But here's the problem with that defense. These recordings have been authenticated by multiple forensic experts. The metadata has been verified. Voice analysis confirms it's Trump speaking. Chain of custody has been established. These are real recordings of real conversations, and no amount of denial is going to change that. The political implications of these recordings being made public are enormous. But now the American people can listen to these recordings themselves. They can hear Trump in his own words, ordering the destruction of evidence, tampering with witnesses, acknowledging that what he's doing is illegal. How do you maintain a persecution narrative when people can hear you committing crimes? I've been talking to prosecutors and legal experts about what these recordings mean for Trump's criminal exposure, and the consensus is that he's in very serious trouble. The recordings provide direct evidence of multiple crimes: obstruction of justice, witness tampering, conspiracy, destruction of evidence. These aren't crimes that require complicated legal theories or interpretations. These are straightforward violations of federal criminal law, and the evidence is literally Trump's own voice on tape. One recording that particularly stands out involves Trump discussing his knowledge of classified documents that he retained after leaving office. Investigators have been trying to determine whether Trump knowingly took classified materials or whether it was an oversight that he then compounded by refusing to.
Yeah, see, this is going back to his first administration. So that's why it speaks. So when the filings, I mean, the appeals and the initial court and charges, it happened in between. And then this past week was his last appeal.
Turn them. Well, this recording answers that question definitively. Trump is heard discussing specific classified documents, acknowledging that they're classified and explaining to an associate why he wanted to keep them. He talks about how these documents could be useful to him, how they contain information that could protect him or hurt his enemies. This isn't someone who accidentally packed the wrong boxes. This is someone who deliberately retained classified information for his own purposes. The recordings also reveal the extent of Trump's obstruction efforts. We knew from court filings that Trump had attempted to obstruct the various investigations into his conduct, but these recordings show just how systematic and deliberate those efforts were.
And he got somebody
Hess
killed.
heard on multiple calls discussing strategies for hiding evidence, for delaying investigations, for discrediting witnesses.
He got
He
somebody
talks about having
killed.
people looked into, about finding dirt on prosecutors and investigators. This is a man who viewed the entire justice system as an enemy to be defeated rather than a process to be respected. Judge Netburn's opinion unsealing these recordings also addresses something important. She notes that Trump's pattern of obstruction and witness tampering has continued even after he left office. These aren't just historical recordings from his time as president. Some of these calls were made in 2024 and 2025 after he had already been indicted, after he was already under multiple investigations. Trump was actively committing new crimes even while being prosecuted for old ones. That shows a complete inability to learn, a fundamental disregard for the law, and a personality that simply cannot accept that rules apply to him. I want to talk about one recording in particular that shows Trump's mindset about the rule of law. In a call with one of his political advisors, Trump is discussing the various investigations he's facing, and he says something that I think reveals everything about how he views the world. He says, laws are for people who can't afford good lawyers. Think about that statement.
Oh, hell, you
This
can't
is a
even
man
now.
who genuinely believes that the legal system is just a game, that justice is something you can buy your way out of if you have enough money and enough lawyers willing to bend the rules. That's not an American value.
I read
That's
something
oligarchy.
earlier
That's
that
corruption.
Bondi was brought
The
up
recordings
on
also include
impeachment.
conversations that are
Yeah,
going to be
I heard
particularly
that too.
damaging to some of
And
Trump's
yeah,
associates and enablers.
yeah,
There are
they
multiple
are
people on these
being
calls
brought
who are
up
heard.
on the articles. However, Trump's he got enough votes. He got to have trial. He got to have trial. They can knock theirs down. I don't know if they're gonna knock that Naomi. They should knock none of them down. But he had enough votes that he has to have trial.
Participating in or endorsing Trump's criminal schemes. Some of them are lawyers who should have known better.
They're
Some of them
going
are
after the
political advisors who
entire
apparently had no
administration.
ethical boundaries.
Yeah,
All of them now face potential criminal liability
but
based on
what
what's
he's talking
captured in
about
these
right
recordings.
now
And I
is
suspect some of them are
old
going to be
stuff.
very
The
motivated to
unsealing
cooperate
of
with
documents.
prosecutors.
Okay, yes, that is coming under current administration. Yes, but what he's talking about now, the unsealing of documents, is not with the under the current administration. So those people that they're talking about in the 47 indictments that's coming is pertaining to what was unsealed, not what's going on currently. That's different. That's what I keep trying to explain to you, Janet. That's different. This is coming right now because of what was unsealed. That's why he said he's listened to them. He's listened to quite a few of the recordings to hear him, Trump himself. And that grand jury, that was their first go around. The little girl, that's what I'm talking about. His first bid. So yeah, I'm not saying that they're not going to be brought up on charges, but right now, this is based off of Jack Smith.
Now that the recordings are public, Trump's legal team has already filed an emergency appeal trying to get the recordings sealed again, but I don't think they're going to succeed. Judge Netburn's opinion is thorough and well-reasoned. She clearly anticipated the appeal and structured her opinion to withstand appellate review. The recordings are out there now, the public has heard them, and you can't unring that bell. I've been watching the reaction from Republicans in Congress, and it's fascinating.
It just blows my
Most of them
mind
are
how
staying
they,
quiet.
when I think about, that Naomi woman talking about, you can't do this and you can't do that. You got a whole commander in chief that's a convicted fellow who has no regards for the law. And you want to act like the law really matters to you. And you breaking the law, doing the shit that y'all doing with that ICE. So it's if abiding by the law don't apply to y'all. It just, how can you enforce when you break the law? I don't know how that registers, and I don't know why it don't register. But I am glad that right now, because I think I just mentioned the other day, saying, why are these people not bringing up that this man is a convicted felon? Why are they not bringing it up? So thank goodness they are bringing it up and reminding him and everybody else that yes, he is a convicted felon. And although he was trying to get the appeal so that it won't go on, it's on there. They upheld it. You are a convicted felon. Period. So people need to stop that. And he needs to remember that he is one. And because he is one, that's why some of the regular rules don't apply to him, because he's a convicted felon. So he's not entitled to complete immunity. They upheld that conviction.
At refusing to comment on the recordings, a few of the more shameless ones are still defending Trump, claiming the recordings are taken out of context or don't prove anything. But there are cracks forming. Some Republicans are privately saying they can't defend this anymore, that Trump on tape ordering the destruction evidence is a bridge too far. Whether that private concern translates into public action remains to be seen, but the recordings have definitely created problems for Republicans who've tied their political fortunes to Trump. The recordings also
We're not
reveal
talking about
Trump's
Joe
relationships
Biden.
with various foreign entities,
We're not
and
talking
some of
about Joe
those
Biden.
revelations are deeply concerning from a national security perspective. There is one call where Trump is discussing classified information with someone who clearly shouldn't have access to it, apparently trying to impress them or curry
Absolutely.
favor. There's another call where he is discussing potential business deals in a foreign country, while also discussing policy decisions that would affect that country. The conflicts of interest, the potential for corruption, the utter disregard for national security protocols, it's all right there on tape. One aspect of these recordings that's particularly damning is how they corroborate testimony that Trump's defenders have been dismissing as unreliable. Multiple witnesses in various investigations have testified about Trump's obstruction efforts, his witness tampering, his instructions to destroy evidence. Trump's team has attacked all of these witnesses as liars, as disgruntled former employees, as people with axes to grind. But now we have recordings that confirm exactly what these witnesses have been saying. The recordings validate their testimony and destroy Trump's defense that everyone who's accused him is lying. Let me address something that Trump's defenders are already claiming, that these recordings were obtained illegally, that they violate his privacy rights, that they shouldn't be admissible. That's nonsense. These recordings were obtained pursuant to valid court orders as part of legitimate criminal investigations. Some of them were made by people who were cooperating investigators and who consented to having their calls recorded. Others were obtained through lawful wiretaps authorized by federal judges who found probable cause that crimes were being committed. Trump has no reasonable expectation of privacy when HES committing crimes on the phone. I've been thinking about what it means that we now live in a country where we have recordings of a former president committing crimes. This isn't like Watergate, where we had recordings of Nixon discussing crimes in abstract terms, using euphemisms, maintaining some level of deniability. These Trump
Okay, if
recordings
it's
are
nothing,
explicit.
then get
Um,
away.
They
Go.
are unambiguous. They're recordings of
If
criminal
it's
conduct
nothing,
happening in real time. And that's both horrifying and, in a strange way, clarifying. We don't have to wonder whether Trump committed these crimes.
yeah.
We can hear him doing it. The recordings are also to be crucial evidence at Trump's various trials. Prosecutors no longer have to rely solely on
Six
witness testimony,
bankruptcy
which
and
defense
multiple
attorneys
failed
can attack as
businesses. Why
unreliable or
did people
biased.
think that he
They
was
have Trump's
good
own
at
words in
running?
his own voice,
I don't know.
captured on recordings that have been authenticated by Burks.
He's been a
That's the
crook.
kind of evidence that wins
He's been a
cases.
poor
That's the kind of
businessman.
evidence that
He
results in
good at
convictions.
changing numbers.
Trump is now facing the very real possibility of significant prison time based on these recordings. Obstruction of justice alone carries a potential sentence of up to 20 years. Witness tampering carries up to 20 years. Destruction of evidence, conspiracy, mishandling of classified information, all of these crimes have serious potential sentences. And when you have someone who's committed multiple crimes, who's shown no remorse, who's
None.
continued to commit crimes even
No
while under
empathy.
investigation, judges tend not to be lenient. I want to talk about what these recordings reveal about Trump's state of mind and his fitness to hold office. The man on these recordings is not someone who's fit to be president. As someone who views laws as obstacles to be circumvented, who sees the justice system as an enemy to be defeated, who's willing to obstruct investigations and tamper with witnesses to protect himself. That's not leadership. That's criminality. And the fact that he wants to be president again, despite everything on these recordings, shows a level of narcissism and entitlement that's genuinely dangerous. The media coverage of these recordings has been intense and will continue for weeks. News outlets are going to be playing excerpts.
That was the only way he could get money.
Analyzing every
Stealing.
word, bringing in experts to explain the legal implications. Trump can't escape this. He can't change the subject. His voice is on these recordings committing crimes. And the entire country is going to hear it over and over again. I've also been thinking about the people who enabled Trump, the lawyers and advisors and political operatives who participated in these schemes.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them are on these recordings actively helping Trump obstruct justice and tamper with witnesses. They face
I just
criminal
don't know what they
liability
thought.
too.
I mean,
And I hope
but
prosecutors go after
the
them
people who love
aggressively,
him
because holding enablers
are
accountable is
crooks
crucial to
too.
preventing future abuses of power. The unsealing of these recordings is also going to have an impact on Trump's civil cases. He is facing multiple civil lawsuits from people who claim he defamed them, defrauded them, or otherwise harmed them. Recordings where Trump discusses his dishonesty, his willingness to lie, his strategies for avoiding accountability, all of that is going to be relevant in those civil cases and is going to make it much harder for him to prevail. There's also a recording that reveals Trump's awareness of potential tax fraud. In a conversation with his longtime accountant, Trump is heard discussing valuations of his properties and explicitly acknowledging that they are inflating values for loan purposes and deflating them for tax purposes. He actually laughs about it on the call,
They
joking
heard
about how the
him
banks and the
say
IRS will
it.
never figure it out. Well, they figured it out. Things where Trump discusses his dishonesty, his willingness to lie, his strategies for avoiding accountability, all of that is going to be relevant in those civil cases and is going to make it much harder for him to prevail. There's also a recording that reveals Trump's awareness of potential tax fraud. In a conversation with his longtime accountant, Trump is heard discussing
And he was
valuations of his
ordered to
properties,
provide those documents.
explicitly acknowledging that they are inflating values for loan purposes and deflating them for tax purposes. He actually laughs about it on the call, joking about how the banks and the IRS will never figure it out. Well, they figured it out, and now there's a recording of Trump admitting to the scheme. That's going to be Exhibit A in additional prosecutions. Another particularly disturbing recording involves Trump discussing a federal judge who was overseeing one of his cases. Trump is heard suggesting that they should look into the judge's background, find out if there's anything we can use against them. When his associate asks what he means by use,
Y'all remember when that a Democrat judge house caught on fire just out of nowhere? I don't know if it was in the Carolinas or somewhere. Her house, the big old house, just caught it was just on fire. I mean, this man, threatening folk. Graping them.
his background, find out if there's anything we can use against them. When his associate asks what he means by use, Trump talks about potentially making the information public to pressure the judge or discredit their rulings. That's an attempt to intimidate a federal judge, which is yet another federal crime. The recordings also capture Trump's view of his own supporters. In one call, he's discussing his fundraising operation with a political consultant. Trump actually says that his supporters are easy marks who will believe anything he tells them. He talks about how he can raise money by
Dumbasses.
claiming persecution, and his supporters will open their wallets every time. It's a deeply cynical view of the people who've been most loyal to him, And it shows that Trump views his political movement as nothing more than a money-making opportunity. What's particularly striking about these recordings is Trump's tone. He doesn't sound worried or conflicted about what he's doing. He sounds confident, even gleeful at times. He's clearly enjoying the game of trying to outsmart investigators, trying to manipulate the system, trying to avoid accountability. There's no sense of shame or concern about the illegality of his actions. It's all just a challenge to be overcome, rules to be broken, people to be manipulated. The legal community's reaction to these recordings has been near universal condemnation. The American Bar Association has issued a statement expressing concern about the lawyers who participated in these conversations and didn't report Trump's illegal requests as they were ethically obligated to do. Several state bar associations are opening investigations into Trump's lawyers based on what's captured on these recordings. Some of these lawyers may lose their licenses to practice law. Looking ahead, I think these recordings mark a turning point in Trump's legal troubles. Before today, he could claim everything was just allegations, witness testimony that might be unreliable, documents that could be interpreted different ways. But you can't misinterpret your own voice on tape ordering someone to destroy evidence. You can't claim witness testimony is unreliable when there are recordings that confirm exactly what the witnesses said. Trump is cornered, and these recordings are the evidence that cornered him. The Justice Department has already announced that they're reviewing the recordings to determine if additional charges should be brought based on what they reveal. Given that some of these recordings document crimes that weren't part of existing indictments, it's very likely that Trump will face additional charges. Each new charge increases the potential prison time he's facing and makes it harder for him to avoid conviction. I've been
Yeah,
asked
they
whether
used
I
to be
think Trump
friends.
will
They
try to
used to
flee
be
the country now that these
under the
recordings are
same
public and
pyramid.
his legal situation is so dire. Honestly, I don't think so. Trump's ego won't allow him to run. He genuinely believes he can talk his way out of anything, that he can convince people that what they're hearing on the recordings isn't what they think they're hearing. I was going to fight this all the way,
Diddy
even though fighting is
pulled
only
in
making
up
things
under
worse for
Trump.
him. The historical significance of these recordings cannot be overstated. Future generations are going to study these as examples of how political power can corrupt, how individuals can abuse the trust placed in them, and how important it is to have systems of accountability that can't be manipulated by the powerful. These recordings are going to be played in classrooms, analyzed in textbooks, cited in legal opinions. They're Trump's legacy, captured in his own voice for all time. For years, Trump has gotten away with behavior that would have destroyed anyone else's political career or business empire. Has lied, has cheated, has broken laws, and has always managed to avoid serious consequences.
Oh,
He's
excuse
convinced
me.
himself and his supporters that he's untouchable, that the rules don't apply to him, that he can get away with anything. But these recordings prove that's not true. The truth has caught up with him. His own words have condemned him, and now has going to face the consequences that has managed to avoid for so long.
Yeah. Okay, y'all, I'm finna go to sleep. There was an article that came up, but as soon as I went to look at it, it disappeared. Yeah, I'm finna disappear too. I am sleep. I cannot believe I've been up all night. It's 6 o'clock. Excuse me. Okay, y'all. Until next time. Bye.